Right.
Rolling again. What's up, everybody?
What's going on?
Today we got Eddie back over here.
Yep, I got the buttons again.
Eddie's on the button.
And I'm doing a great job. All right, behind the scenes, this is our third take because I keep screwing it up. So, yeah.
Progressively, you got less enthusiastic.
Jeez, man. I'm telling you, bro. You see why? You see why? It's really, actually, it's really hard for me to, like, do this and, like, focus on pushing the buttons.
Yeah, no, for
when I'm
sure.
supposed to
Yeah.
push the buttons.
Yeah.
And I forget to do things because I'm so focused on everything else.
To be in
and,
the conversation and then to switch to cameras, yeah.
Yeah,
It's definitely,
so-
like, more ideal to have somebody.
Yeah,
buttoning
so it's
it
nice when we have somebody so I can just focus on talking rather than paying attention to sound levels and when to switch and everything. And yeah, I'm just not on it today.
It's Saturday.
Yeah.
It's all
we got
good.
it. We got it. We're rolling.
All right, we're good now though.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll cross our fingers.
Yeah. So we got Matt here with us, my good buddy Matt. It's
What's
been a
up?
long time coming.
Yeah, like I had mentioned before, it's like we were talking about it like once every other day for like a year and a half. So
For sure.
a lot of prep time, and
Yeah.
I'm just pumped to be here. Honestly, I'm excited.
Stoked to have you.
Yeah.
Finally making it
Stoked to
happen.
be here.
Hell yeah. So I guess once again, if you can introduce yourself for us. I know you well. Eddie now knows you. But I'm sure people out there in the ether may not know you. So just who are you?
Well, my name's Matt, and
Hey, Matt.
I live here in Florida now. I live in a town called Vero Beach, a little bit north
Zero
of here, Palm
Beach.
Beach. Zero Beach. The real estate agent was telling me that too. They're like, "Why do you want to move to Zero Beach?"
It's kind of weird that
So
a
this is
real
a
estate
retirement
agent
community. I'm like,
say
hey,
that.
that's how Boca started, right? Yeah.
True.
But
Yeah, but at least Boca grew.
yeah.
You know, I don't see Vero ever
He's
growing.
banking
is,
on it.
dude.
He's
I'm
banking
kinda
on
I
it.
banking
think
on it.
people go to Vero just for that chill
Yeah, for it not to-
retirement kind
Right.
of vibe.
Well, so actually, funny you mention that because there's only two. You know, like you go to the beach in Palm Beach, you see all the condos and apartment buildings.
Mhm.
There's only two that was built in '68, and they made a law saying you can't build anything over 2 stories in Vero anymore, and they coined the term sunrises, not high rises. I'm like, oh Jesus, you guys are so cheesy.
cheesy. So they
That's-
basically like doomed themselves into like
cheesy
no
but clever.
growth. Yeah. Yeah.
But not for nothing. Like, I moved up there a little strategically. You know, my daughter's going to be starting school eventually,
Yeah.
as per linear time, and and you know, it's a nice town. It is quiet, but I don't think it's going to blow up like Delray did at all. Because I mean, Delray just geographically is so much closer to Fort Lauderdale and
Yeah.
Miami, just in general. But I definitely think it's going to get significantly cooler than what it is now. Even 20 years ago, you look at pictures of Vero 20 years ago, 2-lane roads on 60. It was just, it's still boring, not as boring.
True.
Regardless. So yeah, I live in Vero, from Maine, upstate New York, I guess. Kind of don't know where I'm from. You know, I've lived in tons of places. I was born in Maryland. Then we moved to Maine. Then we moved to upstate New York. Lived in Utah briefly when my sister was
Utah.
born.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, yeah. My sister lived. My sister lived in Utah, or was born in Utah, and then where else? Mississippi, Texas,
Yeah.
here, back to Maine, back down here. Just I've just been all over.
Yeah.
You really are a gypsy.
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, that's like during take one. Yeah, I was like,
we were
yeah,
talking
maybe
about
I'm the gypsy
gypsies.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm projecting.
Right.
Yeah, projection at its finest. But yeah, so I mean, Maine is a cool state though.
Northernmost state.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying. It's like the Florida of the North.
It's
Aside
on my
from-
photography bucket list. I hear it's got some amazing landscapes up there.
Dude, it is beautiful. It's freezing cold, like
Yeah.
bitter, frigid, miserable
All
in
year?
the winter. That's a great question. Yeah. Like in the summertime, you're gonna have to wear a jacket at night.
Oof.
Oh, that's,
yeah.
And
I like that. No, honestly, I run hot, so
I run
I
cold. Yeah.
I prefer colder. I don't like that sweat. Like I don't like being hot, sweaty. And I'm always hot, so when it's hot out, I'm miserable.
Yeah.
I'm miserable.
Yeah.
So I prefer cooler weather.
Yeah,
for sure.
my
And I
wife
sleep
says that
better. I sleep better,
Yeah.
and I suffer from insomnia, so cold weather helps me a lot actually with that.
actually, I know a lot of people that I met from here, from Palm Beach County, that live in like Bar Harbor, Bangor, which is like northern Maine, right? Like I kind of lived in central Maine, Bath, and the counties are just cool too, like Scattahawk. Man, I can't even remember some of the names, but just the Native American county names are like out of control. A lot of cool history. I mean, it's part of New England, so.
Right. I said northernmost state aside from Alaska, but
does Alaska really count?
No, fuck Alaska.
No, I mean Alaska's cool. Alaska's, but you know, like kind of what I was mentioning.
Continental state.
Yeah, and I actually was in halfway with this guy that was from Anchorage, and he had a house in Washington, right? And he would traffic black tar that he'd get in Southern California, bring it up to Washington, and get on the ferry, because there was a ferry that literally connected northwestern Washington up to Anchorage, and that's kind of like how they connected the states. So he would take a ferry, and geographically that's a haul, right? Like it's almost like a fucking like a whole thing.
Yeah.
So that actually goes in the ocean. There isn't like a canal that they built or something to get you.
No, it's ocean.
Ocean,
I think it's all
Pacific,
ocean. Yeah. I mean, there may be a canal through Canada. Maybe, I don't know. But he told me he would drive his truck right on the fucking ferry. He actually caught a Fed case because of it. But yeah, I mean,
do you know how they caught him?
I don't remember that. I met this dude. He was an old head. He was a cool dude. I met him probably 7 years ago. We were at this halfway house in Lake Worth, but I can't even remember his name. But he saw the truck. He had this old beat up Dodge Ram with Washington tags on it. It was the same truck that he got arrested in. And he told me stories of him trafficking fucking black tar from Southern California up to Washington into Alaska. And just, it's wild.
That's really interesting, because like I've watched a bunch of like documentaries and shows about like drugs in Alaska, and I've always kind of wondered like how they got there. Another thing that's big in Alaska too is alcohol smuggling, because there's a lot of towns that are dry towns, like alcohol is illegal.
Great point.
Because of just the correct name is Inuit, the politically correct name for Native Alaskans. I think so.
That sounds
I don't wanna be
right.
wrong.
It does sound right.
But I mean, like similar to Native Americans, like there's supposedly some genetic like differences in the way that like they process alcohol. I think either they like lack specific liver enzymes or like have extra. I'm pretty sure it's that they lack, and it just kind of lends to higher rates of alcoholism.
Interesting.
My dad used to tell me when I drink that I'm like an Indian on fire water.
Yeah.
That was his thing. That's what
It's
he
a
used
thing.
to say to me. Because if I drink liquor, I'd always do something stupid or get in a fight or blow my temper. And that's what you're like an Indian in fire water.
Right.
That's a cool phrase.
I've heard like, and again, I don't know if all of these are like, I mean, I know that genetically, like there's like proven and factual basis behind those differences, and like why there's higher rates of alcoholism among like Native Americans and Native Alaskans. But I've heard like it proposed that because Native Americans, the idea was that, like we were talking about, like that they came down through the like land bridge that did link Alaska to like Russia and this, I guess, Scandinavian areas maybe. I think that was the Bering Strait. Like we need a young Jamie on here, but
Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, pull that up for us. But the idea being that like there's certain areas like that are far enough north that alcohol just doesn't ferment. So for a long time, like I know that's why in Scandinavian countries, their big thing was mushrooms, specifically the Amanita muscaria or the fly agaric mushroom. That's like the typical, like your stereotypical red mushroom with white spots, like your Mario mushrooms.
Yeah, the cute ones.
Yeah. Amanita muscaria, they don't contain psilocybin. They contain a different like psychoactive ingredient compound. It's muscimol and ibotanic acid, and you trip on it, but it's different than a psilocybin mushroom trip. But that was like their way of getting down, because they didn't have alcohol. And there's like a lot of folklore and not even necessarily folklore, but just old tales that have some backing to it of the reindeer up there, like the deer species would literally like stampede down the mountains or down the hills where somebody would pee in the snow. Because they liked the mushroom, they liked the muscimol and the ibotanic acid, and when it's one of those things like when you eat it, like you're not processing it, you pee it out. So like they would eat the pea snow, and like the reindeer would get fucked up.
Yeah.
There's actually like dude, that shit goes pretty deep. Like the whole
where'd you read that?
So, I mean, I've heard about it some in different various podcasts and stuff, but there's a really interesting book. It's hard to get through, but it's called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, I believe. I think that's the name of it. It's some combination of those words, but a big like the foundation of the book was basically that Christianity was like, in the ideas of Christianity and Christmas were formed around this mushroom and like ritualistic mushroom practices. So Santa Claus, white and red, all those colors, red and white mushroom spots. The shamanic traditions, because it was like those shamanic traditions were being kind of shunned by like the powers that be at the time, and sometimes they would have to like sneak in, or like another kind of theory or whatever was that the snow would be so high that like the doors wouldn't open. So in order for the shamans to bring the medicine, they would come through the chimney. They would come from the top of the house, bring the medicine, and then like there would be like hanging them like by the fire, because like there's certain ways to process Amanita muscaria to make it to where like you're not gonna get poisoned by them. Like they're not like psilocybin mushrooms where you could just eat it out of a pile of cow shit and like wash it off and be all right. Yeah, you should probably wash off your shrooms if you're getting fieldies.
Some E. coli.
Yeah, for sure.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, but you have to like boil them and like do a certain process to actually like eat those and get something out of it.
Yeah,
they're not as straightforward as like the classic shrooms. Yeah, but there's like all these different linkages to like our current traditions of Christmas. The Amanita muscaria grows primarily under pine trees and around like coniferous trees. So like we have fucking Christmas trees in our house, and like they're pine trees. There's like the book like goes really deep. Like there's something about the literal translation of Christ being like God. There's a better word for it in terms of the literal translation, but God, like, I guess, like, ejaculating on the earth, which, like, comes,
What?
So, like, if God's, like, ejaculating on the earth and these mushrooms are coming up, so, like, there's this whole school of thought that, like, the teachings that are based in Christianity, or that Christianity is based in, are like a lot of symbology for these ritualistic mushroom practices.
Is symbology a word?
Probably not. I don't know.
Symbolism?
Symbology. I can see that. I'm digging it.
It sounds good.
Like wombo.
It sounds good, but I think it's
Wombology.
symbolism.
Wombology, the study.
I think symbology would be the study of the symbolism.
I feel like it's a word.
We're gonna go. If it's not? It is now.
Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah. Regardless, so yeah, and that's where I got a lot of that, but it's not a fun read, but a very interesting read, that book.
Yeah.
It
I dig
sounds
it.
interesting.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So yeah, but all of that was a little long tirade to say like that they didn't have alcohol because alcohol wouldn't ferment in temperatures that cold.
Sure.
So they didn't evolve the ethnicities or the people that are from those areas that originate in those areas didn't evolve drinking alcohol.
Sure.
And so like whereas people that were from lower latitudes, evolved while drinking alcohol and developed these liver enzymes to process it. They didn't necessarily have that, but in the modern world, everybody's got booze. So it just like because of the physiology of it, like there's just much higher rates of problematic alcohol use. So
I'd be okay with them completely getting rid of alcohol and replacing it with mushrooms.
yeah, I wouldn't have an issue
I'm good with that.
Yeah. But
Be a lot happier around here. I
yeah,
tell you.
yeah, for sure.
Well,
we live
Be
in a
lot
happy
less
society.
angry. Yeah.
Well, then you might get into some bathtub gin again. More people might start
Yeah,
going
for
blind.
sure. Yeah, and, I mean, at the end of the day, getting rid of making any substance illegal, it always just gets like.
Yeah, just
But-
creating a black market.
As an idea,
Yeah, theoretically
people could
sounds cool.
probably benefit more from the shrooms
Like,
and the
where you going?
booze,
I'm going to
but-
7-Eleven to pick up some mushroom juice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember when they used to sell like heroin kits at Sears,
Mhm.
turn of the century?
Laudanum.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
Oh.
you could get them in. Yeah, dude. Fucking
I had no.
Opium.
purchase orders or whatever, like from magazines, like your Sears catalog. Like you could,
What came in the kit?
a syringe, glass syringe, laudanum, heroin,
It was
Laudanum.
IV ready,
Yeah.
wasn't it? It was like in
Yeah.
a little vial.
vials. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can find.
I don't even know what laudanum is. The only thing I know about laudanum is that Edgar Allan Poe used to use it.
Yeah, it's an opiate.
Isn't it like opium and something else?
It's like an opium tincture, more or less. Like I think it's a little more refined, but yeah, like
I think
early 1900s.
they have to cut it with something. It's
Yeah.
opium and like rubbing alcohol or something. I don't know if that's right, but
something like that.
I know they mix it with something else, but I've never
Yeah.
seen it. I didn't even know that was still a thing. I thought that was like
No, it's not. It's not. That's
Okay.
like early 1900s, late 1800s type shit. But that
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
housewives would order it from a catalog.
Edgar Allan Poe times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, but all of that to say that there are a lot of towns in Alaska where alcohol is prohibited. So obviously there's a lot of alcohol smuggling.
Yeah.
But I never like connected like how, because I've often wondered, like when you said that, like it popped in my, like that makes a lot of sense. There's a fucking ferry from Washington, because I've wondered like how does stuff get in there? Like that's just got to be a track. Surely it's way
Wait,
more expensive.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for
and it's
sure.
all tar too. I mean, if you think
Yeah,
about it. I
West
mean, I don't know.
Coast,
And
yeah.
again, this was him telling me back in. He was probably doing this in the '90s. He was in his 50s when I knew him, and I think he got locked up for a decade or something.
Jesus Christ. For
I
drugs.
mean, he was trafficking lots of tar, bro.
Yeah.
Lots of tar into Alaska.
Yeah.
But because I always
Regardless,
thought, like,
nobody
I was
deserves
watching a
10
Drugs
years for
Inc.
that.
episode, and they had the gangs in Alaska selling tar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How is it getting there? There's
Yeah.
tar is kind of obsolete. It originally all came from Mexico. I mean,
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
Correct me if
that's
I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, that's what it is, because it's less refined heroin. It's more of a combination of monoacetylmorphine and diacetylmorphine,
Right.
whereas like your East Coast powder is diacetylmorphine.
Well, so like when I lived in Maine too, all the heroin were stamp bags, and
Yeah.
there was on all the stamp bags came from like New York City, Boston, Massachusetts area. So like the MDEA would sit on the bridge going into Maine from New Hampshire, and just wait for out of state tags, basically, because a lot of people would either rent cars or come from Vermont and bring stuff into Maine. Gangs actually started setting up shop in Maine from other states. To sell heroin, stamp bags.
Right.
And then MDEA was so involved that they started being able to trace stamp bags where they were coming in from, who was selling them, and were able to build easier cases. So then Maine just started selling quarters, halves, and grams.
Fingers.
Fingers.
I know.
Yeah,
I know
fingers.
in Maine. Yeah.
Fingers was 10 grams. It was a stick of fucking heroin.
Yep.
You get a stick of heroin in Lawrence, Massachusetts, which is 10 grams for $200.
Yeah.
$20 a gram. Bring it up to Maine and sell that shit for $200 a gram.
Yeah.
All the way up. If you knew someone you could get heroin for $150 a gram, you were getting a good deal. But you could get 10 grams for $200 in Lawrence, Mass.
Yeah.
And it was an hour and a half drive. But you have to go through a bunch of states to get back in there, and MDEA didn't fuck around. So
crossing state lines, man. That's a federal charge.
It's a federal case for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And like in Trailer Park Boys, they're smuggling weed on the train from Nova Scotia into Bangor. You know, I never knew anyone that brought heroin from Canada. South.
Yeah.
But a lot of people would say that it was actually easier to get stuff in from Canada than it was to get it across the border from New Hampshire into Maine.
That's interesting. And they would go through the woods.
Yeah.
So our mutual friend, just to like keep anonymity, JJ.
Mm-hmm.
We used to talk about fingers. Like I could get fingers every now and then in Atlanta, but I realized how much of a common thing it was there. But he up in Mass, but he would tell me about like they have like just like parties like out in the woods and shit. And he was telling me about like, and I don't know, again, we probably need a Jamie here to look. We're bringing up a lot of stuff that'd be interesting to like verify.
Dive into.
Yeah, but I think that there's like sensors in the woods on the borders.
Really?
Yeah, based on what he would tell me, and like I've heard like stories elsewhere, but he would talk about like they would cross the border in the woods and they would go keep walking when they'd cross the border into Canada for like a couple minutes, and within like 2 minutes or so, there's a helicopter flying over them and just like checking them out.
That's
making
believable.
sure,
Yeah,
Yeah, they
definitely
do
believe
that on the Mexican border. They have sensors set up around certain known paths
Right,
and
more
stuff.
like
so
rural areas where they're
and
not
it'll
manned.
map like the route they took and where they were and how quick they were traveling and all that kind of stuff, so they can go out there and find these people.
Yeah,
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
so
So maybe not.
yeah.
I never really crossed the woods into
Yeah.
Canada. I was.
I
Always
mean,
kind
that's
of a
probably
pussy.
more of a modern thing. I mean, back in
Yeah.
the day, it was probably different, but
And there's
now
probably
we have
ways to get around it too. Like if you just
those things are
like,
pretty
get
sensitive,
away
man. They just
quick.
sense vibration. So if you're walking through and
Oh, I don't mean get around the sensors themselves. I just
Oh.
mean like if you can like manage a path to where like, because they're just probably gonna send a helicopter. Based on what he was saying, like they would send a helicopter and they just kind of check them out.
Sure.
And like they weren't like going anywhere, I guess, with a purpose, and then just like fly away. But I guess if you had like an idea of like go like this direction, I feel like you could still get through, without like a certainty of being caught. But
Yeah. I mean, living
knows?
up there was an interesting time. Like, just living in the Northeast in general, just Canada.
Yeah.
Basically living in Canada.
right.
I'm basically Canadian.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically, people are like, "Oh, you from Florida?" No, Canada. From
Yeah.
Canada. Yeah.
Canada, eh?
Yeah. Do I have an accent?
No.
I don't have an accent.
No. No Canadian.
Well, that's good.
No.
Well, no, the Maine accent's actually fun. Have you ever met someone from Maine?
Yeah,
From
yeah.
my Uncle John,
It's an
who lives in
interesting
Vero.
accent.
He's born and raised in Maine. My mom doesn't have an accent, but my Uncle John, thick accent. It's like a mix of Boston and Canada. Interesting accent, like the hillbillies of Maine.
Yeah.
The hills people.
Yeah.
Like my uncle. Yeah, thick accent.
Is it similar to a Wisconsin accent?
No,
No.
it's Maine.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Maine
just like all the accents and dialects just in the Northeast.
Right.
Think about it. Philly, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Jersey, just that area, so close together. I can
they
decipher
vary.
all those accents.
Yeah.
Even just Philly and Pittsburgh, Poconos even in Pennsylvania, Baltimore, inner city Baltimore, Maine, Connecticut. Connecticut's technically New England, but it's like a mix of like Massachusetts and New York accents. You can kind of decipher that.
Yeah.
Even just the boroughs in New York, people from New York City can decipher the boroughs. Like, oh, you're from Queens. Oh, you're from Bronx.
No shit.
It's crazy. Just
Yeah.
all the different accents.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So is Maine or the Northeast New England area where like your substance use started?
Yes. Yeah, upstate New York. And when I say upstate, like that's why I'd like to say I'm from Maine a little bit more, because I feel like when I say New York, people are like, oh, like you're close to the Bronx. And
I'm one.
no, you're good. You're good. And people are like, oh, you're like close to the Bronx. I'm like, no, Canada. Like I was 20 minutes south of Plattsburgh. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, my substance use kind of started in upstate New York. Pain pills, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Maine, when I went up to Maine, pain pills was a big thing up there too.
were they popping off like pretty readily available like that? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I know Maine was like Florida.
They targeted
and
Maine.
Maine was a big targeted spot.
And ironically, Kentucky, where my wife's from, they targeted the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah,
essentially.
Appalachia, West Virginia, Kentucky. Yeah,
Right, Kentucky and Appalachia goes up to, and through the center of Maine. You know what I mean? So,
that's a really interesting, like, Kentucky, West Virginia. It's always baffled me that they would get tar. Like
yeah, Miranda used to get tar.
Yeah, they would get. I like. They're not west.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess you could kind of say Midwest, but you could, but they're still kind
I
of
used to get tar here.
Really?
There
When I
was a
first started
period-
doing heroin, yeah.
That's
The
interesting.
first,
Mike used to talk about like there was a period where he would get tar.
yeah,
down
the
here.
first, when I first started doing heroin, that's what I was getting. I was
Really?
getting tar. And it was, you hear tar, but it's almost crystally. Like you can crush it up like
that
glass.
sounds like gunpowder.
You can crush, but when then you heat it, it turns gooey.
Tarry, yeah. That was probably gunpowder, which is like a kind of, it's like tar, but a little further refined. Like in California, you would get like tar and you could get gunpowder.
Never got any of
Yeah,
that.
it didn't look
Yeah.
like resin out of like a weed pipe. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. It wasn't sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not until you heated it up. Once you added water and heated it up, it would turn into like this black goo.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Can
but
barely
when I
see
got
a flag.
it would just
Yeah.
be like a crystally kind of rock.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So that always confused me though, that like Kentucky and West Virginia got tar. I'm not sure what that is about, but I do know like cartels have certain
Cells.
yeah. they
Maine
have
did not.
some-
Maine
Right.
had no
East Coast
dude.
powder.
Their Maine white.
Yeah.
Whitest.
China
I
white.
mean, like just people.
Yeah.
You know what I
mean?
mean?
The people, not the heroin.
Both.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen a more Caucasian state than Maine. I really don't.
Yeah.
Couldn't name another one. You know what I mean? But yeah, Maine was, it was all powder, and they actually, the stamp bags that the MDEA started tracking that were coming from New York, into Mass or whatever, like I was kind of saying earlier, they just started selling quarters and then no one could really track it. Right. But I tried staying doing pain pills as long as humanly possible. I really did not want to do heroin for a long time, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was the same way, but once the prices got up to 25,
30,
30
yeah.
bucks a pill,
Yeah.
not
not sustainable.
I can get so much more of this. Yeah.
That's why I transitioned.
That's
Yeah.
why
I think everybody.
That's why we all
that's- yeah,
transition.
I think
they
that's how it was for everybody.
forced it. Like it always like it's always funny to me. Like I mean, it's not funny, but it's like it's funny that anybody would have that train of thought that like, oh, all these people are hooked on pain pills. This is a problem. Let's just cut off supply. Like as if they didn't know like that heroin is a thing for one, also readily available, and that like just the thought process that cutting off the supply would make everybody just stop.
Right.
Like that, like when they did that, were people dying when the pain pills were popping off? Sure. Not a quarter of the rate as, people are dying today,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and usually it was more irresponsible prescribing, not like just OxyContin, but it was most of those deaths were like Oxy, Xanax, and Somos. Like
Sure.
that, they had a hard
Holy
time.
Trinity.
Yeah, Holy Trinity. They had a hard time like actually like being able to prove like Purdue's like hand for a long time, because so many of the deaths they couldn't just say OxyContin did that, because like almost all the toxicology reports would come back with multiple drugs in the system, multiple central nervous system depressants.
Sure.
Yeah, but then they cut it off. Everyone switched to heroin. Fentanyl got introduced to the drug supply, and then
Problem
all
solved.
of our friends started dying.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the eyes of the government, problem solved.
Right. Right.
You know? But yeah, I mean, I remember the Holy Trinity being. I mean, and frankly, that's kind of why I wanted to move down to Florida so bad.
Yeah.
I wanted to specifically Palm Beach. Way back when I was a teenager, because I'm like, man, they got it so easy down there. You know what I mean? Because this is around the time when the 80s started being obsolete in Maine and New York, and 30s were being introduced, and people started charging like $60 a piece for 30s.
When you say the OC80s became obsolete, you mean they went to the OPs?
The OPs.
That's when they went to tamper-proof.
Right,
Yeah,
which I was a big fan of. I could get those cheap too, the OPs, but I just had to eat them. I didn't want to do the whole cold shocking process. You know, I stayed on Reddit or Blue Light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Trying to figure out ways to cold shock it and all that, or use 3. You know, I was a little fucking scientist.
Same. Yeah, but I never felt, even when I would go through that whole process,
not worth it.
It wasn't worth it, and it always drew up a little sticky.
Absolutely.
I never felt comfortable. Like, I mean, I'd do it, but I never felt like this was like even close to like being okay.
Right.
You know?
It was so hard to suck up into the syringe.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much left behind. You know that you lost like half of that pill.
Which brings me to my. Sorry, but
no, you're good.
Which kind of brought me to my first opioid like love affair when I moved to Mississippi was Dilaudid. You know what I mean? That was like my I had never done Dilaudid before. I was all Oxy and Roxy or you know whatever, and then Mississippi it was all Opana and Dilaudid.
Were you injecting the oxys by the time you moved to Mississippi?
I had dabbled.
Okay.
And I had dabbled a little bit in heroin at that time. Yeah.
Like, when you say you dabbled, like, did you have a habit when you moved to Mississippi, or were you still okay?
No, I had a habit.
So when you say you dabbled with injection, you would just inject from time to time?
Correct. I didn't have a love affair with the needle yet. Yeah.
Once I used the needle.
Yeah, that was me. My first time using a needle was with Roxy's.
Yeah.
Same.
See, and I don't know. I mean, you moved around a lot, but here, Dilaudid took place of Roxy's because they got up to $30 a pill. Dilaudid kind of moved in, and this is about the transition where you'd see more people starting to use needles. Right. At least for me in my circles, you started seeing people using more needles, and then those got real expensive, and then that's when heroin really kind of blew up, and then fentanyl later on. Right. So I think Dilaudid was that in between step to
but it brought
heroin.
Everybody to syringes because
you can't snort a Dilaudid. No, you can't.
The bioavailability is pretty much trash.
And the only way to get anything, I probably shouldn't be talking.
No, I
probably should be telling you the only way that you're gonna get anything out of a pill is by putting a needle in your arm.
Well,
but that's how it was. That's.
Well, my mindset was the same thing. Whether that was reality or not, who knows? But in the mind of me at the time, and when I was in New York and Maine, my mindset was kind of that of I was kind of more or less in the zone of if I can get away with not injecting, I will. Yeah. Like if I had to eat 10 Hydro 10s just to get somewhat of a buzz and get off sick, that's what I would do. I wasn't good at injecting at the time. I didn't like to have that stuff. There was still a stigma in my mind about it. If I had to, I would. But when I moved to Mississippi and all there was Dilaudid, like you said, you can only inject those. And that was when it was just game over because that's all I could do.
Right.
I tried to eat a Dilaudid. I could eat an Opana.
Oh, yeah.
Did a little something.
Yeah, you could sniff Opanas.
Yeah.
They taste so bad.
Yeah.
Opanas are so gross.
Which they banned those quick too, bro. That was a very short-lived thing.
Those went real fast.
Those went,
I still hear about them from time to time.
They're still around, but they did the tamper-proof with the oxymorphone. But, with Dilaudid, I kind of always confused me when I would hear people, like, I was prescribed Dilaudid. For my pain management and like a good bit of it for a while. When I moved down here, like initially my doctor was kind of like, cause I brought all my scripts that I was getting up there and like, I was fortunate to get a doctor. He wasn't a quack, like he wasn't just going to do whatever, but he was willing to like maintain me on my pain management where I was at. But he did say with the Dilaudid, he was like, I'm not going to write this because you're not going to be able to fill it.
Yeah.
He's like, you're going to have a hard time filling any of this, but I'm going to tell you like, this is a specific pharmacy. It's like family owned and like you can go there and they'll fill this, but you're not going to find anybody to fill Dilaudid, which is like an interesting thing. Like, I don't like that. Like for like just the general fact that people on pain management who legitimately need it will go to pharmacies and pharmacies will just refuse to fill it. I mean, times in Atlanta, like I forget about this, but when I was on pain management in Atlanta, I mean, at least down here, like I had that one pharmacy that just knew like I was coming every month and they knew my medications. But in Atlanta, every month, I mean, the 2 days leading up to my pain management appointment was just so filled with anxiety.
Yeah.
Because the day of my pain management appointment always went in the morning, and it was always 8 to 10 hours of me driving around, my fiance at the time driving around, and either one or both of my parents driving around just to find a pharmacy that would fill my prescriptions.
Yeah.
And we never like had like one that we could go to consistently. Just fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't somebody go to heroin?
It was like that with the in the Roxy days, man. I remember taking somebody to their appointment and then spending sometimes even 2 days, but definitely spending the whole day, trying to find a pharmacy that carried or had the pills.
Right.
A lot of them probably sold out.
Yeah. Well, that's what they would tell us. Was it true? I don't know. Maybe it was, or maybe they were just singling out certain people,
Using their discretion.
Yeah, and then keeping it for the ones that they knew.
Right.
Or something like that. I always suspected, like, how did the pharmacy just run out of shit for weeks?
Right.
Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So I think they kind of knew what was going on, and they knew who, like, not to fuck with, or they, picked and choosed.
Yeah. Like, this kid's 20 years old. Why does he have a script for fucking 120 30s?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Exactly.
And I saw 20 of them today.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's a hard line to toe because, like, on one end, there were a lot of 20-year-olds getting scripts and doctors being crooked, but, like, also, is it the pharmacist's job to decide what medication somebody needs or doesn't need? Like, I was 20 years old in legitimate pain with something fucking called the suicide disease.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I had pharmacists, I'm sure, making those things. I had a pharmacist tell my mom, because it was one of those periods where we just had to find somewhere to get it filled. Tell my mom, like, what do you like? He's gonna get hooked on this. Like, it's gonna be bad. And, like, at the end of the day, like, we kind of, like, I knew, like, I wasn't one of those that when I got prescribed opiates who, like, didn't know what it was. I knew what it was, but also, like, what was another option? At that time, there really wasn't a lot. And, like, my parents were in the same boat. It's like I'm watching my child, like, writhe in pain every day and kind of wither away. And, like, if he gets hooked on this, like, okay, we can worry about that. But, like, this is an immediate thing. And I'm certain that there's many people like me who were either denied access or just had to go through far more hell and high water than they should have had to go through to get, like, legitimate care too.
I feel like doctors and pharmacies should be in sync, because the pharmacy, they have, you can get a script of, let's just say, 100 pills, right? And they can look at you and be like, no, we're only going to give you 50. But my doctor said I need to take this, this, and this. No, we're not going to give you. They can do that shit.
Yeah.
I've heard about them, like, giving only X amount of, this is too much. He's writing you too much.
Right.
And not just like Roxy's or anything, but pharmacists have that discretion for some reason.
Yeah.
To go against whatever it is that the doctor has told you that you needed.
My
Which is
sister
weird.
couldn't fill her Adderall in Boynton
I remember that.
like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm exaggerating.
Yeah,
It's probably like a year ago now.
Yeah, but still.
2 months, a year, who
Yeah,
cares?
but it felt like 2 months.
Yeah.
Dude, it's June.
I know.
What happened?
Right?
Should be
Right?
February. Yeah.
What
It's
happened?
going by so quick.
Yeah.
Every year goes faster and faster, I
I
feel
know.
like.
Man,
I've noticed that.
fucking Smash Mouth was not lying when they said the years start coming and they don't stop
Dude,
coming.
I'm going to be 37 in a couple months.
I'm 30, dude.
That's I was 30 last week.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, dude, I'm almost 40 years old.
Yeah. I'm
That's
basically
crazy
40.
to think about.
Yeah, we're all basically dead.
Yeah. Well, you start
Pretty
dying
much.
at 25. That's what they say.
27, I think.
20,
Your
is it
cells
27?
start dying. Yeah.
Stop
well,
regenerating
you
at a
stop.
rapid
Yeah,
rate.
you stop. Your cells stop. Like, supposedly, you stop, like, creating new shit. I don't know.
More cells die than get regenerated.
That's what it is. I think. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, again with the linear time, but yeah, man, pill mills, pain
Dilaudid,
clinics.
yeah, but then like the farm, it's like what you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because then all the like super crooked pain clinics had pharmacies on the inside, and then they were making like there was.
What a great thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, go to the doctor. All right, step next door and
Yep.
get your script filled.
Cash only.
Bro,
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the drug dealers are cash only too, and they're not as nice.
Right.
They were mean to me.
True.
Call me dumbass.
I had some nice drug dealers.
I didn't.
I had really good friends that were drug dealers.
I did
had a
not.
drug dealer who
I had both.
yeah, I mean, there were a couple dicks, but I tried not to fuck with them. Like I had.
I hope you're not trying to fuck with a couple of dicks.
Yeah.
Bazing, but that
Bazinga. Yeah, no, I had one that I was like close with. Like fucking like when I was working at Medieval Times, like I would get like X amount of free tickets a year, and I'd give him and his family like free tickets.
Really?
Yeah, they'd come to the show. I'd serve them. He'd tip me.
Serve you.
And drugs. Yeah, he'd serve me. I'd serve him.
Yeah.
It was
Win-win.
great. Great.
Yeah, no, I didn't have that. Miranda, she had that experience too. She was like, "Oh, I was friends with Polo, this and that."
Yeah.
I think it's different for females.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was
you know,
quite-
for
I think
sure.
half of them
Across
get
the
heroin.
board.
Especially
for
if they're
sure.
like cute.
Yeah,
You know, they're
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. So it's one of those things.
Maybe it's because I was cute.
yeah,
Could be.
yeah.
Probably not.
No, but no, my drug dealers, I don't know. They were. I was cool. I mean, I guess I was cool with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
they were probably, I mean, a
They're
lot
tired.
of those dudes.
They're burnt out.
Yeah. And they knew they had what you needed, and they didn't really have to give a fuck. Like, they knew what it was.
Well, it's like
you
any
know?
job. I feel like you know,
Yeah.
you do a job long enough, and you get blown up. Like even when I was doing like harm reduction work, you know, like when participants would call my phone all hours of the night, and I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
God, what does this guy want now? Like, I'd get burnt out. You know what I mean? It's like I could only, and that's why I started thinking about. I started putting myself in the drug dealer's shoes. Like these guys have people calling them constantly. But despite the fact that it's their job or not, like take that out of it, they're tired.
Yeah.
They're like, bro, I just want to fucking chill. Like these kids are relentless. You know, when I was sick, I'd call my drug dealer back to back to back to back. I can only imagine him like looking like this fucking kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
For sure, man. I'd be calling him at 7 a.m. You know,
Yeah.
just like
Oh,
in my
always early.
head, I'm going. You know, he might be up. He's got kids.
Right.
Yeah.
He might be up. You know, stuff like that. But yeah, I can. That makes a lot of sense. I never thought of it that way. But
yeah, like just put yourself in the dealer's shoes. Like they're just like I call them sometimes. Like, bro, like I'm out with my family today. Like, and I'll be like, man, what? You're a drug dealer. Like I wouldn't even put like at the time. I didn't even put like the fact that they had a life. Like if
Right.
anything,
Right.
I was kind of being the selfish one.
Right.
Because it was like I didn't care that they had stuff to do that day. It's like you are here to serve me.
right.
So no wonder they were kind of dicks to me. I was kind of being a selfish prick
Yeah.
at the end of it, you know.
For
so.
sure. I mean, I could never like be like an actual like heroin dealer. You know, like I'd help like friends out and make something, but like when I was selling weed in college, like, and that was just weed, I would get annoyed with like people who would be calling, and it's not like I was getting like real like slinging a ton of stuff, you know, like I would just like have like 4 or 5 people come by a day, and that would annoy me. So
That's
couldn't
like I have
imagine.
this person that keeps calling my phone called Scam Likely,
Yeah.
and he's just fucking relentless, man.
Yeah.
It never stops.
Yeah. They love calling
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So Dilaudid in Mississippi, is that really like when it turned into heroin when you were in Mississippi for the most part? Like, is that where it went all heroin, or like, how did that?
No, Mississippi
transpire?
didn't have heroin at the time.
No
Mississippi,
heroin.
I couldn't
It was
find it.
just
You had to go to
all
New
Dilaudid.
Orleans. You had to go to
Okay.
New Orleans to get heroin. And no, so it was just Dilaudid. But that was like when my substance use like went like balls to the wall. Because then I got like an IV habit. You know what I mean? Then I can't even say, because I've kicked cold turkey and off Dilaudid, and it a week. You know what I mean? You feel like shit for 3-4 days pretty quickly, and then by a week you're 100%. In my experience, right? There's no excuse for me. But like when I was using in Mississippi, I don't know if it was just like I just didn't want to stop. So like I could like dabble a little bit. I probably wasn't really getting sick. I just had severe crippling anxiety and like
Cravings.
insane cravings
Yeah.
to the point where like I know I didn't want to stop. So like I was going to do whatever it fucking took to keep getting it. But then it got that with that, you know, life got a little crazier. So, you know, I moved back to New York and then I moved back to Maine after that because I'm like all my family was out. Like I don't have any ties in New York. My family had just moved there for my dad's job. I had family in Maine. So when I moved back to New York, to live with my ex and that shit went to hell, obviously, because I had a habit. And then, you know, my mom's like, all right, you're not moving back with us. You got to move back to Maine. I'm like, oh, fuck. So back to the frigid hell. You know what I mean?
Where were your parents living at the time?
Mississippi. And then they had just moved to Texas.
Okay. Where did you go in Maine? Another family? Or?
Yeah, in Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved back to Portland.
What, did you have like an aunt there or something
Yeah.
like that? Okay.
Actually, she bought my childhood house.
Oh, shit.
And she's actually moving to Vero. You know?
that ain't-
Yeah,
okay.
full circle.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So we, so there I am back in my childhood house that like the best years of my life were spent at. And I have a habit and it was hard, dude. It sucked to say the least, to be honest with you. It really sucked. Getting high in Maine is not easy at the time because like I was kind of bringing it back to what I was saying, getting heroin into the state was extremely hard. MDEA was relentless. Like you would like when we went to visit, most recently when I went in September, when we drove from Baltimore to Maine, like clockwork, there was the brown Explorer and the dark blue Taurus just sitting on either end of the bridge, just looking for beat up fucking Chevy Cavaliers with a cracked windshield and Vermont plates to pull over.
Yeah. Out of state tags.
Yeah, and I mean it's usually like a beat up car full of white kids, or a flashy car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With Massachusetts tags or New Jersey tags. But it was just they just targeted them. You know, they'd pull over white kids in a beat up car or a minority in a nice car. That's what they did.
Right.
They did that all day, and that's how they get drugs out of Maine. Generally, they're spot on. To be honest, their system works.
Was it more expensive in Maine? Like if you were like copped in Maine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were we talking about it just now about the fingers?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
Massachusetts. Like I don't know if it was this time or two
yeah.
times prior.
No, it was this time.
It was this time, yeah. So you know, the fingers $200 for 10 grams.
Yeah.
You know, it's $20 a gram. Bring it up to Maine, $200 a gram. You made your money
Jesus
back in 1 gram.
Christ.
That's crazy, man. That's a $200 a gram.
Yeah.
Could you?
I paid
Man,
like 80.
I think I'd go back to pills.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Dude, 30s in Maine were like $90.
Pop?
$90, and there's no Dilaudid.
That's
80s were
insane.
out at this time. Like I'm saying, it was really hard to get high. Dude, I got
What year
beat.
was this?
This was 2014.
Okay.
Dude, I got beat so many times in Maine. I got beat by drug dealers. Drug dealers would sell me fake shit.
Right.
It was the hardest place to get high in. I would have money. Be like, I have money.
Yeah.
You know where it's a really crazy heroin trade in Maine? Old Orchard Beach. You want heroin and you're in Maine, you go to Old Orchard Beach.
Good to know.
What's that? Yeah, good to know. Yeah. OOB.
Yeah.
Yeah. OOB was crazy. And I knew it, but Maine started getting, there was a ton, and it was all little white girls that sold heroin in OOB. Suburban rich white girls.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they're all like pretty big drug dealers. I know a few of them that are doing life
Whoa.
Oh shit.
For what?
for selling fucking fentanyl and people
They
dying.
killed people. They hit.
Yeah, Brittany Green. You can look it up. Brittany Green from Old Orchard. She was, which is York County, Maine. That's southern Maine. So it's like literally right on the New Hampshire border.
Yeah.
OOB. But yeah, Old Orchard is like the Atlantic City of Maine. It's like a sleazy boardwalk, a lot of sleazy fucking like Airbnb cottages. But you go to OOB and you can pick them out.
So like that's like the hood of Maine.
The hood of Maine's Portland, Sagamore Village. That was the housing projects in Maine, which was mainly refugees from Cambodia and Somalia.
So more like a suburban hood.
Yeah, OOB. Well, OOB's trashy. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
It's just really tacky. It's
So
a
like
boardwalk.
Lake Worth.
Yeah, exactly. Lake
Gotcha.
Worth. Exactly. It's a boardwalk. You know what I mean? Pier fries. A lot of the stores with like the tacky shirts that rob you. You know what I mean? everyone there is just real sleazy looking. Like, it's a good time. It's a really good time to get drunk. You know what I mean? They have a great 4th of July festival there. But
so it's Lake Worth.
It's Lake Worth.
Yeah.
Sounds exactly
Yeah, it
like
sounds
Lake
like
Worth.
It literally is Lake
More
Worth.
than Lake Worth.
And but then, like, because there's season and off season, like Lake Worth. You
Right.
know what I mean? So season's obviously summer, and then we were there in September, and I was showing Miranda, my wife, around OOB, and it's just all people strung out, just walking around. That's all. All the shops are closed down. It gets dark real early there. You know what I mean? Like, even in September, it was getting dark at like 4 p.m.
Dang.
It's ugly, bro. All the places are closed down. All the Airbnbs are boarded up. It's desolate. It looks like a ghost town, and just the only people out are the people that are from OOB that are strung out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
So Brittany Green.
Brittany Green.
All right. So
Doing life.
before we delve deeper into your story and like a lot of some of the stuff that we plan to talk about, I want to know your thoughts. Like, I mean, I probably know your thoughts, but I want to talk about, or I want you to share your thoughts on that, because I mean, in our work, like in the program that Rebel does in the jail, you know, like we had worked with one of the first people in Florida
Sure.
to be hit with a charge like that.
Right.
What are your opinions on that? Somebody being charged with manslaughter or some kind of like murder charge for providing a substance that results in somebody's death.
Well, so there's Brittany Green's case is an interesting case too. It's not as cut and dry as her selling fentanyl and they overdose on fentanyl. It wasn't that. So I knew Brittany personally. I was in a homeless shelter with her in Alfred, Maine, which is right outside of Saco. Saco, Biddeford, really bad part of Maine.
Did this involve like a McDonald's bathroom or something like that?
I don't know.
No, okay.
I don't know.
There
I'll show you the article after
okay,
this.
Yeah.
So Brittany actually did beat me once. She sold me fucking makeup, and I shot it because I was I wanted it so bad, and I knew it as soon as I took it out of the bag, and it chalked up.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is fucking makeup, and I'm like, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was in
Maybe
such
it's makeup with a
denial.
little dope.
So yeah,
Maybe
Like,
there's some in it.
yeah. And I even found myself, because I started getting dope from Lawrence and bringing it into Maine, and I probably shouldn't say that, huh? I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, there's statute of limitations.
Yeah,
All of this
I'm
could
sure.
totally be complete fabrication. It's completely possible that
Yeah.
none of us have ever shot heroin.
Right.
Let's just put that out there.
Right.
Go on.
Okay. And technically, I was with the kid that was driving, and then he had this brand. It was sketchy. Anyway, we went to Lawrence, and the dude Chino, we'd get it from. His name, he didn't speak a lick of English, bro. You went up there and you said how many grams you wanted. You went like that. You know what I
Right.
mean? You 3, 2, 1,
Right.
whatever. And he would sell it grams for $60 a gram or $250 a finger. We didn't have the $200 plug. Anyway, so Brittany, this is before I met the kid Mike that had the plug in Lawrence. So I met Brittany, and she lived in OOB. I lived in Portland at the time, and she sold heroin to support her habit. She said she was getting it from Lawrence. And so she ended up selling, but like anyone that has a habit, it doesn't stay consistent. You start beating people. You start trying to fucking get around shit. So she sold a girl a bag, an OOB local. She sold this girl a bag, and it was cut with something. And the stuff that it was cut with, that she tried to stretch it with, there was heroin in it, right? It was real heroin. It was rock. It smelled like vinegar, like literally, bro. Like it was rock. Smelled like vinegar, the shit that Brittany got. And it was like, you'd have to fucking, like when you mentioned that earlier, but it wasn't tar. It was dark brown. And it had like specks of white in it. It was almost like re-rock.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And you have to really break it up, but it had a strong smell of vinegar. So whatever the shit that Brittany sold this girl was cut with some kind of poison. And the poison killed the girl. The girl shot it and she died.
Do you know if Brittany cut it herself, or did she get it from?
I have no clue.
Yeah.
Just because I wasn't in the courtroom, like when they were because she took it to trial. You know what I
Right.
mean? She didn't take the deal. That's why I think she got such a long sentence. I'll have to show you the article after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was 20 at the time. She was honest to God, she was a really nice girl. And she had a kid.
She just had a drug problem.
Serious drug problem. Yeah, Brittany had because we were doing good when we were in the homeless shelter because it was a dry shelter. It was a shelter that you went to, and they'd place you in a methadone clinic, and then it was a lot of housing first because Maine had a lot of more or less like they had a lot of services, right? So you could go through this shelter and they get you into a housing first program in Saco or Biddeford, which Biddeford is also kind of Lake-worthy. You know what I mean? Biddeford. Terrible rep. In any case, I disagree with people getting arrested over death of drug sales. In short,
Yeah.
I don't think Brittany should have been hit with that charge, just based off of me knowing her. Right? Someone lost their life. Tragic. I don't know if she cut it. I don't know if she did it on purpose. I don't know if she didn't like the girl. I don't know the facts. Right? All I know is is Brittany had dope, sold it to this girl. This girl did the dope, died, not as a result of the dope, but as a result of the cut.
Yeah.
Right? And they threw the book at her.
Do you know what the poison was?
I'll have to find... Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, it might be in that article.
It is in the article, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was the state versus Brittany Green. Yeah. But and I knew a few people from Providence that sold fentanyl in Maine. One of them got a Fed case. Maine did not fuck around. I think it actually has one of the lowest crime rates out of any state aside from like Nebraska. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think Maine has some of the lowest crime rate.
That's right. Actually, I think I've heard Marsha talk about that before.
Oh yeah, they're from Maine.
Yeah.
They are, aren't they? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Maine, but I mean, downtown Portland, don't get it twisted, it was pretty rugged in parts. You know, Jefferson Terrace. Like I remember as a kid, my great grandma lived in Franklin Towers, which was public housing for elderly, and they transitioned it into public housing for indigent. And I remember when they did that shift, it went from elderly people sitting outside waiting for the bus with their carriages or whatever. You remember the old lady carriages?
Yeah.
The tall ones that are metal with the two wheels on it lined with like the quilt to put the groceries in. You know what I mean? They all had that, and it transitioned around late 90s. It transitioned from that to people nodding out outside the building, and it got really, really bad. It got really bad in that building.
Yeah.
Yeah, Portland's, I think, and come to think of it, kind of hindsight, that was probably around the time 80s. You know, late 90s.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think Oxy 80 got big in 97. So come to think of it, that was around the time 80s got really prominent in Portland.
Yeah.
But
Makes sense.
But yeah, no, going back to your question to answer in short, yeah, no, I think it's disgusting how state's attorneys make examples out of people.
It's almost always people with substance use disorders.
That is another part too, right? Because and I could kind of get into this. I won't get too deep into it. But what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? Like if we're gonna make middle class white kids with substance use not get life in prison, then we can't give the black dudes in the hood life in prison.
Absolutely,
100%.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You know, the upper middle class 20-year-old white girl did get life.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And not for nothing, my mom keeps calling, and
You want me to text her?
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I will.
She's probably wondering what we're doing because it is getting late. But
Late? What time is it?
she thought we were starting at 10, so I told her, we'll be done at 11. You know what I mean? Yeah, we'll be done by 11. I told her. So.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I was wrong.
I think we're about an hour in, so
Yeah, but we're cooking though.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to limit our
And
time.
we're not gonna
We've been
hold you
trying
up.
to do this shit for a while.
Yeah.
No, I hear
But
you,
we're
definitely.
not going to hold you up all day.
No,
Should be
no.
fine.
You guys aren't holding me up at all. I want this. I'm
I'm
it's an
driving
honor
him
to be here.
anyways. She just
Yeah,
wants to
Deb
know
will be
what's
fine.
up.
She lives in Boynton.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's not like she's coming from Vero, but yeah, no. I mean, yeah, Brittany got life, and you know the kid that got fentanyl trafficking, and where did Jay get hit? He got hit in Scarborough, Maine. He only got 4 years, and they I think they tied sales to him of people that died as well. So I don't know, man.
I don't think that's right, man. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he sold them the stuff, but they made their decision. I mean, you know the consequences.
Sure.
If you're using dope, you know what's gonna happen. You know the consequences.
Right.
Yeah,
You
none
know,
of those cases
I'm
are
gonna-
somebody like forcing a needle into somebody's arm.
No.
And and they picked the amount that they were gonna shoot up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I used to do a lot more than most people did.
Yeah.
You know, but I knew people that were overdosing off half down here in Florida. That caps. Overdosing off half a cap, but I was doing 3 caps at a time. You know, I chose to do that amount. I chose to do the dope.
Right.
It should, and if I died, should they get a murder charge because
Right.
I chose to do what I did?
You know what? I think they make a waiver almost that you can sign, like almost like a do not resuscitate, but it's like do not prosecute. Like if I die, like I think some harm reduction agencies have it. I remember seeing it years ago. Like it's basically you sign something saying if I do die from an accidental overdose, do not prosecute the person that sold it to me. I did this knowingly, without anyone persuading me. I sought this out. I wanted this. And I bought the drugs. I didn't want to die, but I bought the drugs. And so I don't know verbatim, what it says, but it basically
Is
just
that
says-
actually legal though? Like, would that hold up? I
Yeah.
feel like the state would be like, "Fuck you."
no. They can go after the person
get
for a drug charge.
Yeah, but
They can
not
for
the
sale.
whole
It's-
side.
it's-
yeah,
even a Fed
because I
case.
think
Yeah.
like a lot of the driving underlying narrative, which comes from people who don't use drugs and have never
Right.
used drugs, is that people are dying because this monster of a drug dealer who's usually like the friend who like copped with them or helped them cop because they had to connect like most of the time.
Yeah, that
that's what
happened to
it
me.
is. Right. That's why I asked. There's a case where a girl, like in a McDonald's bathroom, there was 2 girls. One of the girls copped for the both of them. They were both getting high. They both had the same intentions. One of the girls died and she got charged because she's the one who obtained the drugs. And like there's this underlying narrative that like they were tricked because they didn't know there was fentanyl in it, as if like as if the person who copped for them somehow had like this knowledge of what was in the substance that the other person didn't, and that's not how that goes. Like
Did you see that on Court TV?
no.
They had that case. Was it in Ohio?
Yes. No, I saw an article about it a while ago.
They had that trial on Court TV. I watched the whole trial.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The girl
That's
was
fucked
crying.
up. Yeah.
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 The judge was like, I don't think you're showing enough remorse. So I'm going to
Jesus
give you 7
Christ.
years or something like that.
Dude, I had detectives come to my house.
Really?
I went and a buddy of mine hit me up and he's like, "Yo, I got $100. Let's go." And I'm like, "Okay." He wanted, I think, Dilaudid at the time, and we were talking through text messages. That's how this came back to me. And I was like, "Well, I at that point had been heroin. Like, I don't even know where to get pills anymore." And I'm like, I can't get that, but I can get this." And he's like, "All right, let's go." And of course, I make the run. He breaks me off, that kind of thing. So he broke me off, and I went and dropped him off at home. I went my way. He went his way. Within the next hour or 2, he was dead. Damn. And his mom got the phone and saw the text messages.
Yeah.
Boy, she fucking hated me. She wanted my head on a platter, dude. So maybe a month or 2, no, like maybe 2 or 3 months later, I had a sheriff's office come to my house.
Jeez.
threatened to give me the charge if I didn't give up who I got it from.
Right.
Like, they were ready to take me. So I almost caught a murder charge for that, and it was like all I did was get the dope for him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't deserve that. You know what I mean? Like, we all know the consequences of what happens.
Yeah.
What could happen. But dude, his fucking mom, bro, like, it was like clockwork. Every month, maybe even more than once a month, she would send me a text reminding me how fucking miserable she is and how much she hated me and all this other stuff.
Oh.
So fast forward a little bit, I'm about 4 months sober at this time. I was doing the abstinence thing at the time. I was just gotten out of treatment. I was doing the AA thing and going through my steps and everything. And she sent me one of those texts about 4 months. I remember I was in Maryland. It was during one of the hurricanes, and I booked it up to Maryland. And this time, instead of like, either telling her to fuck off or just giving her bullshit excuses, I just kind of, cop to it and be like, look, I'm sorry for my part in it, and I had this little AA sobriety time counter on my phone, and I screenshotted that, sent it over to her, and the only thing she said was, I like this. Fast forward a little more to my 9th step. She was the first person I called, and I got to sit down with her and talk it out. She came and saw me pick up my 1 year coin.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
out of
pretty
control.
cool.
Yeah, dude, how crazy is that?
That's a great story.
It is, man. Like when I remember going to her house, bro. I was ready for her just to walk up and punch me in the face, right?
Yeah.
And or even worse, like she said some, like, I have nieces and she thought they were my kids, and she would wish them death.
Jesus.
Yeah. So she's like, so you would know how I feel. That, like, dude, she was hurt. She hated me for it. She fucking hated me. But that day I went to her house, she came outside, gave me a big hug, held on, crying.
Damn.
And then we went and sat in her dead son's bedroom, which was a little awkward. She had like this shrine thing. He played music and stuff, so she had this thing made that had like some of his trinkets and stuff in it, and it was actually really nice. And it was hanging on the wall. And we sat in a room, and the only thing she said is, no more lies. And I said, okay. She started asking me questions. Did he suffer? I was like, no, it's like falling asleep.
Yeah.
It's like, he went peacefully. Things like that. We talked about it and went through all that. And yeah, so then she ended up coming to see me pick up my 1 year medallion.
That's dope.
Which was cool.
Out of control, bro.
It was a great turnaround. That was actually probably the biggest amends
Yeah.
of my recovery, like doing with my parents, just stop doing stupid shit,
Right.
And a few others that I had made, but that one was probably the most significant one, and it was the first one I made. It was probably the scariest one I made, but it had such a great outcome.
Yeah.
So
I think people in that much pain just want somewhere to place the blame,
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, from where I stand, like, 9 times out of 10, like, everybody that's involved is also suffering in it. And I mean, if there's anything to blame, it's our drug policy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his brother too. His brother forgave me. It was funny because I was buying a snake, and his brother like breeds snakes. So a friend of mine, a girl I was seeing, took me over to his house, and he says, "You know who I am?" I was like, "No." And he's like, "Tony's brother." And I was like, "Oh shit, this is gonna go bad real quick." And I was like, "Look, dude," he's like, "No, I'm glad you're doing well." You know what I mean? So that was cool too. He actually was there to see me pick up the medallion too.
That's killer, bro.
Yeah, man, it's cool. And I'm friends with them both on Facebook. I talk to them every now and again.
Very cool, man.
So yeah, man, that was awesome. Actually, like, it felt good.
That's beautiful.
That was cool, man. 'Cause I actually held on to that, like, especially getting like belted by her all the time. You start to feel a little guilty.
Sure.
And I felt for her, man. I'm like, I didn't want him to die. He was a good dude. It's not like I tried to go out and kill him, and I definitely don't want her to deal with that. Like, I don't want anybody to have to go through that. And to be forgiven was pretty cool.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's what it's about. Unfortunately, it doesn't always go that way.
No, but
People fucking do get locked up, So how many times did you go to treatment? Like, formal treatment?
oh man, I don't know, not much, not many.
Before, like, getting like some long-term recovery.
I don't
under
know,
your
like
belt.
6 times.
Yeah. And
Not a crazy. I hear some people say 29 times.
Yeah.
I went like 6.
And you went to Naranon, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I went to L. Ron Hubbard's place.
Can you
There's
tell
shoes.
us about that?
Yeah, everybody got shoes. Going to get our own planet. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Was it
Oh, that's
Scientology
Mormons.
based?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, the planet's Mormons. Yeah. Why? Tell us like why that ended up transpiring. Like why you ended up going.
Because
there.
AA doesn't work, dude.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. It
Yeah.
it does. AA worked
It was
for me.
your solution,
Yeah, AA
but
worked
that
for
was
me.
like you had gone
At
to
the
so many
time.
treatment or X amount of treatment centers. They
Oh,
all
no.
did 12 steps, so you could say like those didn't work for me.
No. I'd only been to one outpatient. That's the fun. That's the best
Oh,
part. I'd
interesting.
never even really tried AA. That's the best part. Yeah, that was because I look back on it. And I'm like, what the fuck was? I'm like, oh yeah, I just didn't want to stop getting high. No, but truly, I wanted to make everyone happy and then get out. And I'll never forget. My mom was so disappointed in me because I sent on the way to Naranon. I sent my mom a text, or I sent this girl I was seeing at the time a text. And said, man, I can't wait to get out of this. I'm going to do a big fat 2-pill shot when I get out. And my mom, like, saw it. Yeah, she got real upset. But yeah, L. Ron Hubbard, man, they had fucking... you couldn't say that it was a Scientology rehab, even though all the books there were, like, L. Ron Hubbard. And we put a big picture of L. Ron Hubbard on the back of one of the basketball hoops in the house, and we fucking play. And they fucking did not like that.
Oh, I bet.
How does Scientology based treatment work?
No,
Screaming at shit.
yeah. Similarly to AA, they similarly did steps, right? Like they call it the 4 steps. Omits and withholds. You know what I mean? Like it's basically just like lies, omits and withholds.
So when it says things like when it mentions God, what do they say?
Oh, you
Yeah.
you did this. You have the power to stop and not do it again. Anything you've done in your life is a result of you, and do esteemable acts, and you won't do it again.
That actually makes sense though.
It does make sense.
It does.
That's
There was a lot
There's
of
truth
other
to that.
stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
there's truth
It
to that
works.
for
I
sure.
To
mean,
my
Naranon
knowledge,
works.
there was the way it was put into practice, because you're not the only person I know that went to Naranon, and I know somebody that went to one of their facilities that like was sexually assaulted and stuff, but you know that may happen at any treatment center.
Sure.
But just like there was a lot of, from what she explained, a lot of like kind of beaten down type shit and stuff, but weren't there weird things with like niacin and drug bombs? And
Drug bombs.
Weren't you supposed to like yell at like an ashtray?
Absolutely.
for a
How'd you know
while?
all that?
I've talked to people about, because since you told me, I remember when it was one of the first times that we met to like do like step work outside of Starbucks. You told me about Naranon.
Did I tell you about the ashtrays?
No, the first, like after I learned about that, because I was really like blown away by some of the stuff you told me. Anytime I heard somebody talk about Naranon, like I was very intrigued. So I'd like ask them a lot of questions about what their experiences.
Didn't you buy me coffee the first time we went to Starbucks?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I was so broke. I literally was
like
just gonna
a
get a
week
water.
out of detox.
Yeah. I was like sponsoring him, and he at the time, you know, now we're just buds. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's none of that fucking. But yeah, we met at Starbucks to do step work, and I was dirt broke at the time. I was working
Yeah.
here.
As a peer.
Yeah, I was doing this, and I had no money, man. And I was gonna and he got a coffee, and he's like, "Do you want something?" I'm like, "No, man, I'm good." And he's like, "You sure? I got you." I just got the small. I think I got the smallest
Yeah,
cold
you got
brew
a
they had, or
tall
something like
some
that.
shit like that.
Yeah.
I was like,
Did I get a cold
grande,
brew?
dude. I don't know.
You got a sugar drink, I think.
I
You
got
got
a
the
fucking
chocolate
Java
mocha.
chip frappuccino.
Java chip. Yes, you did.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. I remember where we sat and everything. I remember my Suburban was backed in.
Yeah.
I remember that day very well, actually.
Yeah.
That's
me
that's
too.
cool. Anyway, yeah. So, Narcanon, dude, out of control. Yeah, no, they. So, all right. So when you get there, their detox unit, they call it the withdraw unit. It just sounds worse. You know what I mean? Like they're acknowledging you're about to feel some shit. You know, they call it the withdraw unit. Like you're about to be withdrawing, bro. You're about to get sick, and there's nothing we're gonna do to help you. You know what I mean?
no meds, huh?
Nomads, drug bombs. Do you know what drug bombs are?
No. Explain this to me.
Drug bombs are you know, in restaurants they have the small side cups that are kind of shallow like that, and then the big
Dixie
ones.
cups, like little Dixie cups.
Not quite a Dixie cup. It's the one that you could, the see-through ones you put tops on.
Yeah,
At,
for like condiments
mayo
and stuff.
condiments.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
They have
yeah.
the small ones, and then they have the bigger ones that are like that tall,
Okay.
bigger around. filled with horse pills.
Horse
Now-
pills.
Now imagine, pretend you're withdrawing off of, let's say 1 gram a day of fentanyl, right?
Okay.
You've been doing it for a couple years. Think of that feeling.
Yeah.
So they would take this shit called CalMag. It's powdered calcium and magnesium, and they break it up in vinegar. A glass, like that
Jesus
liquid
Christ.
death.
What the
That's
fuck?
what the shit was. It was liquid death. It was
Is that what I'm drinking now?
negative. Negative. You would know. You would know. I couldn't drink this stuff now. Ooh, I'm getting a physical reaction. So a glass of vinegar with a big old scoop of calcium and magnesium powder, and this thing of pills with vitamins and niacin, like 5,000 milligrams of niacin.
What's
which is a lot of
niacin?
Niacin flush.
What's niacin?
You're Dr. Austin.
It's
You-
like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a supplement. I mean, that was like the first thing I ever heard on how to like beat a drug test was just like take.
So it's like a
shitload of
detox, like
niacin.
flush or something to flush your system.
I believe it dilates like blood, like your veins and shit. Like it like makes blood flow bigger.
Your
Gotcha,
face
I
would turn
gotcha,
beet
I understand.
red.
Yeah, when you do a niacin, they call it the niacin flush. Like you turn red.
You turn beet red. You
Yeah.
tingle. It feels like pins and needles. Like you just did a fat
Oh,
shot
it's
of
like
vinegar
I
dope.
drank Red Line. You ever drink Red
Yes,
Line?
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That feeling?
It's that.
Okay.
If you drink a whole red line and pound it, I think
Yeah,
there's a lot
even
of niacin
half
in
of
it.
Yeah,
one, man. You
there's
start
niacin.
feeling those pins and,
Yep.
and needles,
Yeah,
of
there's
just a half
niacin
of.
in
But
That's what-
serving size is half of that. You're
Yes.
not,
Yeah, in a
you're
red
not supposed
line.
to drink the
Yeah,
whole
I know.
thing.
Yeah.
I used to when I first moved down here and got sober, red line had just come out. Like it had just come out, and I would drink 2 back to back.
Oh,
down.
dude.
I'd get-
Jesus
That's
Christ.
way
I wanted to get
too
fucked
much.
up. I wanted to get fucked up.
Those things are insane, dude.
Dude,
I
and
don't-
I remember, you know where Delray? Well, you know Tony's Deli on Atlantic Ave.
Oh,
Okay.
Tony's.
Tony's Deli, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the spot where all the fucking recovery kids would go hang out and cash their checks
Yeah.
and fucking you could score dope there. But I would go get red lines with my food stamp card and I would pound 2 red lines and I would just be walking around Delray fucking
Bro.
whacked out on red line.
Let me tell you, the first time I did like it's a drug, drank a Red Line. I was working at a strip club. I was working at Spearmint Rhino. I was the bar back, and it was my first night. So I'm working from whatever it was 10 a.m. to like 6 or 10 p.m. to like 6 a.m. Right. I'm not used to being up all night, so I started slowing down a little towards the end of the night, and one of the bouncers is like, "Yo, drink this, it'll help." And I'm like, "All right." He's like, "But you got to chug it." And I'm like, "Okay," and whatever. I chugged it. I found out later about the level line, and you're not supposed to drink the whole thing. Dude, that was a miserable fucking night. And even after I got off work, I couldn't sleep.
I bet.
I was up all day.
Fucking, it's like Adderall.
Bro.
You get tunnel
Overamped.
vision.
Yeah.
Those fucking things are they
Yeah.
should be illegal.
It's tough.
They call it a workout,
Pre-workout.
Yeah.
pre-workout.
pre-workout, something
Like
like
who
that.
the fuck, like I might as well shoot fucking meth and go work out, dude.
Literally.
You know what I'm
well,
saying?
I mean, you can test dirty for meth after drinking. I swear to God,
Like
that's
an
a thing.
amphetamine,
Yeah.
bit of amphetamine pop.
So
Interesting.
sorry, I got us off track. Back to the drug bomb.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
So you'd have to drink. So again, please put yourself. So think back. You're dope sick. You're feeling like shit. And glass of vinegar, CalMag, drug bombs. Now they would make you take the drug bomb first, but you got to drink. They gave you some water.
Okay.
You got to drink but you could not chase the CalMag because I guess there's something if you drank water after the CalMag, it needs to. They might have just been fucking with you. I don't know.
Yeah, it
But-
sounds like they just want you to suffer.
it sounds like it. Then they would make you, so you'd take the drug bomb, you take all the pills, and then you'd have to drink the entire glass of CalMag, bro.
Jeez.
Like, just the
I can
thought.
tell.
Yeah, just the thought of it, dude. Just the thought of drinking this shit. It's vinegar and powder and chemical is what you're drinking.
And what's the purpose? Like, what is this supposed to
It's
do
supposed
for
to
you?
flush you, make you sick less. Your piss would be lime green, bro.
Was there a
Fluorescent
doctor
green.
behind this, or they're just like,
Fuck
fucking take
doctors.
this?
That's a
L.
good
Ron
question.
Hubbard is a doctor.
L. Ron yeah. All hail L. Ron.
He really had a thing for niacin. Like niacin was a big answer for him. Like he not just in you know, like drug treatment. I don't even know like if when he was alive, like he was involved in any kind of like treatment for substance use disorder and helping people, or if that's just like, because there is a Scientology based everything. There are businesses down here. My mom's worked for one before. Like she didn't. It's not something they fill you in on, but that are
No, they don't like
based-
talking about it.
No, and but
They
they're
didn't let you
fully
talk about it in
based
Arcanon.
around Scientology. And like there was weird shit when she was working there, like that she finally caught on to it and started noticing all these like bookshelves full of LRH books, and they would do like really weird shit and like move her around things for like seemingly no reason that
Right.
just made shit harder for her. She didn't work there long.
Yeah.
But there's businesses that go on this LRH business model. There's obviously treatment centers that go on their LRH treatment model.
That's a thing.
Yeah, but when you said vinegar, the second thing I ever read about how to pass a drug test was drinking shots of vinegar.
Yep. I remember that.
Niacin and vinegar. So I guess they like that's probably the thinking. I've never thought about that, but that's probably like the train of thought that like flush your shit out. I don't know.
It sucked though. Like why?
Yeah.
Like,
I bet.
Yeah, but then so after the withdrawal unit, they'd make you walk around, and they would do these exercises with you, like, what is that? You'd have to answer. Okay, what is that? You have to answer, and then they'd walk around the property and ask you, what is that? What is that? Basically, getting your mind off of what you're going through. It's very, very rudimentary, very weird.
The fuck?
It was odd, bro. It was odd. And then once you're done with that, then you go into the sauna. And in the sauna, you sit in a sauna for basically 6 hours a day. 1 hour interval.
Sit in a sauna for 6 hours.
Yes, sir.
Bro, I can't sit in a sauna for 5 minutes without wanting to. I think we talked about it earlier. I run hot
Yeah,
Yeah.
bro.
all the time.
That's the
I
point.
hate saunas. I don't know how people sit in that shit. 6 hours, I'd kill
I
somebody.
love saunas, but I do 20 to 30 minutes at like 185 degrees.
Oh fuck,
Do you
dude.
know how many?
No.
How high the temper was?
No, I don't. But it was
temperature?
hot. So this is what. So, all right. So this was the routine once you're in the sauna unit. So you'd start your day eating a shitload of niacin. You went up because you'd have to wean up on niacin because you can't just take 15,000.
Yeah.
You know, I
probably
think
not
they would
good
give you
even
like
if you wean up.
15,000 milligrams if I remember correctly.
Jesus.
I think
Yeah.
it's 5,000 is like high, but it's
Right.
like manageable. You know, so I think they gave you 3 times that, and they gave you like your dude. I'm stuttering. Like,
Slow down.
It's a strong physical reaction.
yeah.
You're not there anymore. You're here. You're
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah, it's like PTSD, bro, literally. And a lot of people I've talked to about that place get a similar reaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they'd make you eat a bunch of niacin and then go on a treadmill for like 30 minutes. Full tilt. You'd start sweating and then you'd go in the sauna and you'd be in there for hour intervals. Then you'd have to jump in an ice cold pool for 5-10 minutes, then get out and go back in the sauna. Anyway, I don't want to keep talking about it.
Do you feel like all of that like took your mind off the withdrawal, or
No.
did it just suck? Yeah.
No, it sucked. Made it worse.
Yeah, it just fucking
It
sucked.
sucked.
Yeah, it sounds miserable.
And that was when I left there. I didn't last long there. Some people the program there was 3 months, and I remember I made it like 2.5 weeks, and I'm like, I'm not gonna make it here for another 2.5 months, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, I don't blame you.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds fucking miserable. You said sauna. I'm like, that would have been it for me. Like, I'm not fucking sitting in this for 6 hours. You're out of your damn mind.
Yeah, so I made a scene, and they say they kicked me out, but can we pause this real quick? I gotta use the restroom.
You gotta
pretty
pee?
bad,
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll be right back.
And we're back.
You feel better?
Oh, dude,
Matt really had to pee.
That was
I
a
could.
did you-
I could
That was
hear
like
him.
the longest pee ever.
it sounded like I was frying chicken.
No, I was about to say that's Matt's thing, dude. Brian fried
No, as
chicken.
I was peeing, I'm like, this is intense.
Yeah.
That was a long one. That was good, though.
Did you get the shivers?
No, I didn't.
Oh, those are my
I
favorite.
got like there was pressure right here. I had pressure.
One of those.
It was
yeah,
tough.
you really had to go.
Dude,
Yeah.
that was bad.
I like the shivers.
I don't like. I
no,
don't know if I know what the
you-
shivers are.
You peel. Well, it sucks when you lose control and then go on the seat. But like
The seat, how about the walls?
pee
It's
and
like,
it feels so good.
oh,
you're
you
like,
feel it
"Whoa."
coming. You feel it coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that I'm like, because I don't know if you know, like whoever's gonna watch this is probably gonna see me fucking. I just
Yeah,
adjusted a bunch.
squirming.
I was gonna try to wait it out, but it was like, anywho,
So what eventually worked for you?
okay, so I moved to Florida, and frankly, I moved to Florida because I didn't want to stop using.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to get involved with pill mills, and it seemed like a
Right.
Like a fast
place
track.
for it, yeah.
like a fast track to get involved with that. And people are like, oh, you can live in halfway house for free off your insurance, and they won't drug test you. You can live here and do that, and so I'm like, that sounds great. I don't have to pay rent. I can have a roof over my head and do pills. I'm like, that sounds fucking great. Sign me up. Let's go. And it didn't work out that way.
You
Yeah.
got scammed, huh?
What's that?
They scam you.
No. I mean, no one told me that's what it was going to be like. I was hearing from people that I was getting high with in Maine that have been down here before that kind of went through. Actually, a couple of them lived in Kenny Chapman's houses.
Oy.
Um,
Yeah. So that was their experience.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had overdosed in Maine, and my aunt had kicked me out, so I didn't have anywhere to live. And so my mom's like, you got to move to Florida. You got to this is like your last shot. You're going to be homeless. You have no money left. You have nowhere to go. You burned all your bridges. You're not coming back to Mississippi.
Didn't you fly down like still in kind of a overdosey haze?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
right
The
up,
overdose
yeah.
was intense. The
Yeah.
overdose was, they said I died. I don't know. I'm going off what the paramedics, or no, it wasn't even the paramedics. It was the hospital staff
Right.
had said to me, because the paramedics were gone at that point when I came out of it. But they said I was like pronounced dead.
Flatline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how that works, how they can like resuscitate someone like that.
Yeah.
So
Do you
I
know
don't-
if they use paddles?
They used paddles.
Yeah.
They did.
So your heart stopped. Yeah.
Right. Like I had shit all over me. I had the fucking EKG shit all over me, the stickies. I had like my chest it felt like it had caved in. It felt like someone had decked me in my cavity as hard as humanly possible.
CPR.
Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
But I had fucking like my legs were like I slid down a flight. So you want me to tell the story?
Sure.
All right, so we were in this this kid I had met in IOP, and the kid that we used to get dope, that used to bring me to Lawrence to get dope, Mike. We started buying from this one of like the only fucking black dudes in Portland, right? Like we met this dude, and he had fire dope consistently, and it wasn't expensive, but we didn't have to, or it wasn't cheap, but we didn't have to drive to Lawrence, right? Lawrence was just like, I was a ball of anxiety every time we went to Lawrence, because I'm like, this is,
Yeah, I could imagine.
they'd smoke us.
Yeah.
They'd throw the book at us. I'm like, I do not want to deal with this. So just going Portland to Portland, I'm like, no big deal, right? So this dude, and he was always at a different, like all the drug addicts knew each other in Portland. And the ones that had apartments, this drug dealer just bounced from apartment to apartment to apartment to apartment, and probably just threw the kids dope to get people to come to them and to let them trap out of their house, basically. So I remember my buddy Mike did his shit. So a girl had brought us there. And in good junkie fashion, we promised her we were going to give her some.
And then did it all before he came back outside.
Poor thing. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we were like, yeah, we got you. Just bring us to downtown Portland, and we got you, this and that. We got enough money for $1,000. We'll break you off like a quarter or whatever. She's like, okay. And I had beat this girl a few times too. Like I sold her. I ended up becoming going the Portland way, selling people Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Or my thing was iced tea, the little individual iced tea packets.
Little Lipton.
Yeah, because it was brown, and I'd pour that into a little, because they had this stuff called tickets. If you just were buying points, it was
wrapped receipt or
it was
something.
folded a very specific way. I probably could still fold it. It's like origami almost.
Yeah.
and you put a point of dope in there, and then you fold it a specific way, and it looks like a little paper football.
Paper football, yeah.
Yeah, it was a
Get
ticket.
those. Yep.
So Mike did his shit, and I'm still getting mine ready. And I remember the kid, Brandon, was like, "Yo, you better go get your boy. Looks like he's kind of stumbling." So you open the front door of the apartment and the flight of stairs to go down. It was on the third floor. So the stairs went right down. Then there was a landing, and then there was another flight going straight down. So downstairs,
straight, not
landing.
curved.
It wasn't not
Okay.
curved. Stairs, landing, stairs,
Yeah.
and then front door. So you could look from the dude's front door of his apartment. You could look down and see the door out of the apartment building. And I remember like just getting it all in the, like I kind of dumped it into the spoon because usually I was very methodical. I'd usually go slow. I was very safe. You know what I mean? I'd always usually do half of it, wait a second. And if it was too much, I'd pull it out or I'd do the rest, you know? And I just slammed it that time. I was just like, fuck Mike. And I slammed it, capped it, put it in my pocket. And I remember going up to Mike, putting his arm around my shoulder, and he was stumbling, and we get to the stairs and I just black out. I don't remember anything. I remember putting his arm around my shoulder, looking down the stairs, seeing the front door, seeing the back end of the girl's car kind of coming out of the door. I remember that very well. And then black. And then I vividly remember right after the black, I vividly remember like kind of talking to myself, like saying, like feeling something on my chest and, waking up, but it still being totally black. And after feeling that, I remember talking to myself like, yo, wake up. And then I remember kind of saying back to myself, yo, this is like really warm. It's cold. You know, it's cold out there. Just, you know, this feels nice. Stay asleep. You know what I mean? Like just this, it's really cold out there. And I remember thinking to myself and telling myself in third person, yo, if I wake up right now, I'm going to be so fucking pissed. I vividly remember telling myself that. And I've heard other people tell stories similar.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where they're like talking to themselves in third person, and where it was total blackness, but seeing like a silhouette of yourself, right? And then I
sounds like a DMT trip.
it was crazy.
Yeah.
It might have been. And I remember feeling that again and hearing my voice turn into someone else's voice going, wake up. Wake up.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right.
That's fucking crazy.
Right. Someone else's
Far
voice.
out.
Dude, that is, I just got goosebumps.
Dude,
Dude,
it-
saying
it-
that. That's weird. That's crazy.
It blew my mind. And to this day, I still sometimes think I'm actually dead. It fucked my brain up, I think.
Wow.
And so I felt the thump on my chest again, which I think was the paddles. I think it might have been a defibrillator.
Right.
What I was feeling like when they, because it felt like someone like pushed me, like, and I felt that's when like things would change, and I would go from telling myself this is chill, this is okay, stay asleep, to like, yo, get up, bro, this isn't good. You need to get up, wake up right now. And I remember arguing with myself for what felt like an hour, but was probably a minute or two, right? And I remember I remember opening my eyes and seeing two guys with beards standing over me, and I was in an ambulance. And I remember thinking, where's Mike? And I said, what happened? And it went black again. And I probably just passed out, and I don't remember anything else till I got to the hospital. I remember them wheeling me in, and I woke up with an IV drip. I'm guessing they had given me started in a naloxone drip. Yeah. And I was in tons of pain, lots of pain. And I was just blown away and confused and scared. I'm like, yo, what's going on? What happened? And they said, you overdosed in Portland. I'm like, where am I? They're like, you're in Westbrook. You're at Mercy Hospital.
So what kind of difference is there in
Geographically?
Yes.
Westbrook's one city over. Like Portland's one of the biggest cities in southern Maine, but I think Westbrook might have, I don't know if Maine Med, because you would think they would have brought me to Maine Med, which is the biggest hospital, probably has the most resources, but they brought me to Mercy.
Probably the closest one, no? Was that the closest one to where you were?
I don't know. I was downtown Portland. I think Maine Med's downtown,
Oh, okay.
if I remember correctly. But regardless, I remember being like sketched out. I'm like, where's Mike? And they're like, he got brought. I think he got brought to Maine Med. And
did he overdose too?
he overdosed
They
too.
both- you both.
Oh shit!
Yep, we
So
both fell
you
down the
both
stairs
went out.
together. Yeah.
God damn.
And
Oh, you went down the stairs.
we
both?
fell down the stairs.
Jesus.
We fell down the landing.
So he was supposed to be helping you down the stairs and ended up assing out with you.
I helped him. I was helping him down the stairs. 'Cause remember, he was stumbling. I slammed what I
I'm
was
sorry. I
doing.
thought that was the other way
Oh,
around.
so
no.
he said he told you go get your boy.
Yeah, go get your boy.
Got
Mike,
you.
yeah.
I thought it was
Okay.
the other way around.
No. That's why I rushed it, because usually I was very safe.
Oh,
I
okay.
slammed it,
Yeah,
and
that
that's when I
makes
put
sense.
I put Mike's arm around my shoulder to help him down the stairs, because he was kind of like swaying.
Yep.
And that's when I like looked down and I'm like, all right, we got these stairs to go down, and I think Mike's about to overdose. And I was gonna go down and get the girl because I think she had Narcan in the car. And anyway, long story short, I got on a plane like 2 days later. I overdosed again the next day. That overdose wasn't as bad as that one though. Like I kind of just overdosed and they Narcan me in the house and I came out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that one, it shifted me big time.
The second one.
No, the first one.
The first one.
That was bad. And when I was flying down here, I remember like looking out the window and thinking to myself that I was actually dead and that God was just letting me kind of carry on my life as it normally was. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's that.
And then you came down to Florida, like what, 2 days later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Went to treatment.
Yep. I stayed sober for a while.
How long?
Did I say sober?
Yeah.
4 years and I relapsed.
Okay. So that was 4 years from when the time that I met you and stuff. Yeah. Do you want to talk about any recurrences post long-term recovery, or you want to save that for another time?
We can talk about, if you want to talk about it, it's up to you.
No,
Whatever.
it's up to you, bro.
I don't care either way. I mean, like, my reoccurrences, relapses, whatever you want to call them, they're filled with shame and guilt. It sucked. You know what I mean? I really, really fucking hate going back to it because I built a pretty decent little life for myself. And it seems pretty selfish that I would kind of continuously go back after long periods of sobriety. It seems pretty crazy, right? And even Miranda, who has 5 years sober, she's like, why do you do this? I'm just fucking, I'm like the real deal, I think. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just, I can't even explain to you how my brain works, because it's like, if I don't go to meetings and do what I need to do, my brain just tells me it's a good idea to get high.
Right. And I mean, like, so we've had like conversations about that, like in our conversations, as far as like why that happens for you in the way that it does. And your solution was AA, and it works for you. And frankly, I'm grateful that it works for you. One, for you, but two, like the fact that it works for you, like, is what allowed me to kind of have some sense of an introduction into 12 steps in the way that it could be used to work for me, which we can talk about at another time or later. But, like you've mentioned to me in the past that, like, although it is the solution and it's the thing that works for you, maybe in some ways it's also like the source of that all or nothing. Because you went out after those 4 years, do you mind if I say,
Go
like,
ahead. Yeah.
on kombucha, right?
Yeah, that was, yeah.
And, like, so you drank a bottle of kombucha. And I know, like, what you're talking about. Like, I've drank a big bottle of kombucha quick, and I felt the warmth. Like,
I've never had a sip of kombucha. I don't
that
think I
doesn't
would like
surprise
it.
me.
I don't think
That
I would
doesn't
like
surprise
it. Yeah.
But
I love kombucha too.
I
That's
do
the sad
too.
thing.
Yeah.
What is
there's-
like fermented something or other?
Fermented
And
tea.
as soon as you
there's
say
the
fermented, I'm
SCOBY.
like, I probably
Yeah.
won't
That's
like
all
it.
beer is.
Yeah. I love it, but it's like a fruity. It's kind of, but it's very low levels of alcohol. Like you can, you don't have to be a certain age
It's
to
like
buy
2
it.
steps away from jailhouse wine.
Yeah, right. But if I have drank like enough of it quick enough, not anything intentionally, but just like where I've drank it, I was thirsty, and I felt the warmth from that, like I've felt from like drinking alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So like people who say like that's crazy, like that makes sense to me because I've felt that effect before.
Right.
But your thought process, and correct me if I'm wrong, was, well, I'm here, like I just downed this kombucha and I feel this now, and like everything that's kind of been not fed to me, but like that I've done in my work and in this fellowship kind of alludes to like, well, I've just thrown that away.
Yeah.
So might as well go ham.
Yes and no. So, yeah, I drank the 40 ounce of kombucha, kind of knowing I would get a little bit of a reaction out of it, right? So I think it was my intention going into it because I knew I've drank the small kombuchas before and gotten like a little bit of a buzz, and I've like kind of wrote that off as like a freebie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I bought the 40 ounce of kombucha, half my brain was like, oh, you're going to save money, and the other half is like, you could drink this whole thing and probably get a little bit of a buzz off of it, and it's a freebie, right? So when I got home, I poured a big glass of it. I drank the whole glass like I was drinking a fucking beer, right? And so I think it was like the action of how my brain kind of made me think of it as an alcohol,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I was drinking it alcoholically
Yeah.
for a purpose, right?
You get the effect from a substance
To
that
get
you
an effect.
expect.
Yeah. No,
I
that
drank
makes
it for
sense.
effect in that moment,
Yeah.
right? Which I've drinking kombucha for effect before. Like whenever I felt a cold coming on, I would drink it and it would knock the
Sure.
cold out. I would usually get the lemon one, and the next day I'd wake up, no cold. Like itchy throat, you feel that cold coming on.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
Lemon ginger.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Big Easy.
Great for that.
Yeah, and I would drink a whole lemon ginger kombucha. The next day I'd wake up, I feel like $1 million. So I got the Trinity, the 40 ounce Trinity, and I drank that whole thing in one sitting. I got a little bit of a buzz, and instantly like that, what you said, but also kind of like, all right, I'm gonna go get some Fireball and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like there's a story in the Big Book where they talk about whiskey in the milk. That Jim story.
Yeah.
Like, this can't possibly hurt me on a full stomach. And I was kind of
Right.
doing the same thing there. So
That story always stuck out to me because I'm like, who the fuck drinks whiskey with milk?
Yeah.
I
That's
think it's called
it.
White Cadillac. I think it was
Yeah.
like a big drink in
Something
the
like
40s.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And
you got like White Russians and stuff.
Yeah, that's
you
a
know?
thing. Yeah.
yeah. So I drank, and then the next day I woke up with a little bit of a hangover, and I remember thinking like, who gives a shit? Like, who cares, bro? Like, it's over. Like, I did it. It's done. Might as well do what I really want to do. And I got high,
Right. So like in that sense, like that whole like it's been your solution, and thank God it has, but it also like, and who knows, like it's there's no way of like saying one way or another because like you don't have something necessarily to compare to because time is linear, and like how are you going to say like what would be if it wasn't? But it kind of took away any potential of moderation for you because that's your mindset. Like
Yes and no.
like absolute abstinence, like, and a little bit turns into 1,000, and that's like what it is.
Yes and no. I think it kind of coincides. I think there's a couple things there. This guy's calling me. I'll say this and then I might need to wrap up because the Massachusetts dude's calling.
Yeah, we can wrap up. We'll do this again because there's a lot of things that I want to go into, and I knew that we were gonna run long because like I knew that this would go cool, but
No worries.
yeah.
What was I saying?
Yes and no to
So yes and no, because my mindset was I mean I can, again, I don't know for a fact, but I can probably safely say I'd probably be dead if I didn't have that 4 years sober. Because if I wouldn't have stopped and I wouldn't have got the things that I got in that 4 years of recovery, I probably just would have been on the street, chaotically using terribly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when I'm on the street, I'm just like, don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. And because I have nothing to give a fuck about. You know what I mean? I like regardless, right? Like even like this most recent relapse when I was only doing Dilaudid, like because I had stuff going on. It might not have been the best scenario because I was getting high, but it was kind of like the definition of harm reduction. Like this is bad, this scenario is bad, and it could get a lot worse, but I know I'm not going to die right now as long as I stay only doing this.
Right.
So with that, yeah, I think that me drinking, because I never even really liked drinking like that, and I always drank to get drunk. And I think me thinking to myself, well, I just threw away my 4 years sober, I'm going to go do what I really want, I think would have happened whether I was in AA or not.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if I'm not abstinent, I just want to do what I want to do. I didn't even get drunk this most recent time. I went right to Dilaudid.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't even want to drink. I don't care about drinking.
Right.
I really don't. I miss beer sometimes, or so my brain thinks, but I really don't care. I want to get high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when I get high, I'm going to get high. And I get high on opiates.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Like you said, I have no clue. I have no idea what could have been different. But yeah, like they say you can't, belly full of booze, head full of AA.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than that. And yeah, I think there's truth in that, because you can never, I don't think I can ever drink or use again, no matter what. And because maybe if I would, I see what you're saying, because maybe if I wouldn't had entered into AA, maybe I could have had a beer or smoked a joint.
Right.
I don't know.
It's an interesting thought experiment.
Right.
And to see like how things like, it's not a matter of like it being like harmful, like, or like a good side and a bad side. It just is like, it's not a value judgment. It just is like, in the essence of this solution, it is black and white, and
Right.
it doesn't leave room for gray. And if that's what works for you, then what works for you has to be black and white, and there is no room for gray. And it's just an interesting thing to think about, like how that thought process like works, and for a lot of people, and doesn't work for a lot of people. And I just I don't know.
I completely, going back to what you said about the belly full of beer, head full of AA. I did 4 years of complete abstinence before I went to a medical marijuana doctor and started drinking again and stuff like that. I don't do it chaotically, but I know that thought process because the weed was first. Like I think I told you earlier, I suffer from insomnia, and it got to the point where I was getting like 2 hours of sleep a night, and my options were pills or weed. So I picked weed, but there was so much like going on up here because I was an AA'er, right. And I was hardcore abstinent for 4 years, almost to the day. I think I just passed 4 years when I went to see the doctor. And there even though I knew and like what my intentions were, and I wasn't scared of my intentions. I wasn't out just trying to get high. I was actually trying to fix a problem in my life, but it almost stopped me from actually following through with it because I had that head full of AA. But after talking to people and some people close to me, it's like as long as your intentions were good is what they told me.
Right. So you worked through it.
Yeah. And up until now, I had nothing's been. I do mushrooms occasionally. I drink. I'll have beer or two at dinner, or if I'm out, doing like street photography. One of the things I like to do is I'll sit outside of like a restaurant or something like that and just wait for shots to walk by me, and I'll sit there, sip on a beer, and look around and wait for shots to come my way, and then I'll move to another place and stuff like that. So. But at the beginning, yeah, and I had that guilt, man, and it was heavy too. Like I was like, they told me I'm gonna shoot dope again.
Yeah,
right. That's scary.
Yeah, and it's like I know I don't want to do that. And one of the things I always say, I could probably smoke weed, but I don't want to test it. Is what I used to say. Mm-hmm. But then came the day where it's either pills or weed, and I don't like pills. That was a bigger problem for me than anything. And that's a scary thought for me.
Yeah,
scarier than weed. Getting put on pills for insomnia, and who knows, probably get antidepressants on top of it, or Xanax or
antipsychotics.
Yeah, because they
Seroquel
don't always
issue.
just give you one thing. They're going to tell me that I got anxiety disorder or this or that, and next thing you know, I got a bag full of pills, and that scares me more than a bag of weed.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it took a lot of thought to do that, but because of AA, I could give it that thought. You know what I mean? Like, how do I explain it? It's
I mean,
not
it gave you like self-awareness and like a
there you go,
conscious,
awareness.
like,
Yes,
thing to,
yes.
like,
I actually had to
actually-
think about like, could this turn out bad, or could
Right.
this actually benefit me? You know, I had to go through that. And I remember even in AA, I remember seeing a pamphlet, you know, that talked about taking medications.
AA on medication.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and
I used to bring that up all the time.
and that it's okay to do that.
Yep.
So, you know, I had to work through that and make sure that the decision I was making was a smart one.
And I think that's the I think that's the how do I put it? I think that's part of the problem with AA. Truly, because you didn't deserve to feel that guilt. I didn't deserve to feel that guilt because I drank a 40-ounce kombucha. And I think Austin's point kind of leads back to that guilt is somewhat fabricated due to presence in AA. Is that on us, or is that on the program, right? Because like my own guilt is my guilt, right? That makes us decent people because we have guilt.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it almost led to like my demise, but also too, that might also kind of separate the fact that like I proved to myself I can't, and you prove to yourself you can, right? So that also kind of goes into like the self-directed, no one size does not fit all program, right?
For
Because
sure.
I kind of proved to myself that like, yeah, I liked IPA when I was 21, but like as a 30-year-old with an IV problem now, I can't just go drink an IPA because no matter what, looking back hindsight, I only drank to get drunk personally. From Austin's story, and correct me if I'm wrong, Austin does not have that in his story. I don't think you ever drank to get drunk.
I mean, like anybody else did, like in college, like, you know, you kind of, but
yeah, but if
I
did you ever go out to dinner and have one beer and that was that?
all the time.
I never did.
Yeah. Right.
I never did.
You know, honestly, neither did I. Back in the using days, I only used anything just to get high or to get drunk or anything like that. I just don't think I'm that person anymore.
Sure.
Your
You know,
relationship with it changed, yeah.
I've grown since then, and I'm not out. I want to sit down and just enjoy the taste of a beer.
Sure.
You know, after dinner or something like that, or go hang out with a friend who drinks or a group of friends that drinks and not feel awkward or being the odd man out, and everybody's kind of weird around you because they're not sure if they can drink, and you know, like that. I'm sure that you've probably experienced that many a times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't. I'm not out looking. I'm not chasing a high anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I'm just chasing good times and not chaotic good
Yeah.
times. Not that
Right.
kind of a good time. Like, I just want to enjoy myself. I didn't get into recovery to be somebody who goes to meetings every single day, who's got 10 different home groups, and you know, like, I want to enjoy my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I always say.
And I've grown, and I think I'm just not that person anymore who's out chasing a high. I'm just chasing vibes, man. You know?
Yeah, I get that.
You know what I'm saying?
I wish I could say the same, and I'm just being honest with myself. Like,
Everyone's different.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
think that's
for
all
sure,
right,
man.
and that's
It's-
cool.
It's relationships with the substance, and that's all it comes down to. And like sometimes people have a toxic relationship, and points like different things in their life change, and like relationships change. But sometimes people are never gonna have anything but a toxic relationship with a substance, and whether like that's because of just like the way that we perceive those relationships, or that's just biology, or it's both.
Mm-hmm.
Nature nurture combination. It is what it is, you know. And like back to like the whole harm reduction thing, like your best and only way to reduce harm is abstinence, and that's harm reduction,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Yeah, that's the same kind of awareness as what I experienced,
Right.
and you know, after that 4 years of constant abstinence, But yeah, it's not for everyone. I don't think everybody can do it. You know, I wouldn't tell a newcomer or somebody who's just starting out that I do mushrooms and I smoke and I drink. I wouldn't don't just because it works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So I wouldn't like go to a newcomer and be like, you can do what I do. You know what I mean? Like we all got to find our way.
Maybe they can.
Right.
Maybe they can, but they need. I think there's a level of growth that you need to go through, like going through the steps and changing the way you think. I always say that recovery has nothing to do with the drug.
Right.
Nothing at all to do with the drug, and everything to do with changing the way that you think.
Right.
And depending on what level you get to and on that journey, I think that'll dictate what kind of person that you are, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Did that come out right?
Yeah, for sure. And doing so, I think it's easy to like just have the kind like doing so doesn't, in my opinion, require abstinence because like yes, it sounds good to like just cut everything out for an extended period of time so you can work on those things, but I don't like to make a generalization where that is required for you to work on those things and to really make serious changes. And like on the note of like, what would I tell a newcomer? I would never tell a newcomer or anybody. I'd never tell Matt, like, dude, you could smoke weed or you could take mushrooms like on occasion and be all right with it. Just like I would never expect somebody to tell me you can't smoke weed or you're going to go shoot dope tomorrow. Like it's just both of those things.
Black
like,
and white.
Yeah, exactly.
And not the same for everybody either.
Right. And
But it does.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it does, not to be a big book thumper, right?
Yeah.
But it does say, and I used to resent this sentence, and the older I've gotten and the more I've grown, the more I've came to respect this sentence. Because it's talking about harm reduction. I've actually talked to Tracy Helton about this sentence. Go out and try some controlled drinking. It may be worth a good case of the jitters to get a good understanding of your condition, right? It's not saying go out and shoot dope. It's saying that maybe you're not an alcoholic and that's cool.
Right.
Maybe you can control your drinking and that's cool. Maybe you're just the moderate, because in More About Alcoholism, it talks about maybe you're just the moderate or average heavy drinker.
Yeah, the difference between a heavy drinker versus an alcoholic.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And this is a new plane nowadays. Heroin, opiates, fentanyl. Like, of course you're going to get a little bit of a habit on opiates. I truly believe I am like the alcoholic type, right? And there's a lot of people that went to AA that had alcoholic tendencies, but may not have been like full on. Right. You know, if you can drink a beer, you probably weren't an alcoholic, right? And so I don't want people to like go into programs and dismiss it, but also too, like if you don't need to stay in them and you can go out and be successful, dude, then you to enhance your life. Like it seems like I know people that their lives are enhanced by going out and having a beer and taking some pictures.
I feel like I'm that person.
100%.
For sure, because I mean, I was getting pretty grumpy, and again, due to my lack of sleep, and it was affecting everything. I was meaner at work. I was meaner to my girlfriend at the time, and you know what I mean? Like it affected everything. And once I went to and started smoking weed, like I would sleep like a baby. And I noticed my attitude was better. My emotions were more under control. You know, mushrooms are great. Oh my goodness!
A lot of research behind benefits.
Yeah, man. The benefits on that. You know, the mentality and for people with depression and things like that. I believe it because I've experienced that. Just the joy while it's happening, and then even the next day, just feeling real like chill.
Yeah.
You know, just feeling real serene the next day after a good trip. And, you know, the drink, I don't need to drink. That's not something that I look at as a benefit to my life. Maybe in a way where I get to go enjoy time with friends and
it's seasoning on your life.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
adding salt and pepper to a nice chicken dish.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
It's not the focal point, but it's going
Right.
to enhance it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's
I-
where the difference lies, I
Right.
think.
I
Yeah.
enjoy waiting on my food and sipping on a beer, watching whatever's on the TV, or
That's normal.
Socializing with people.
You know what I used to do? I used to buy Natty Daddies, which is a gross malt liquor, and then like all the backwash, there'd be like 10 or 12 of them around the house. And I would go take the backwash and pour it into a cup and drink it.
Yeah.
That's alcoholic, dude. I was a fucking drunk.
Yeah.
I just happened to fucking shoot dope.
Right.
I don't know.
But on all of that, and I'll wrap up with this. And I should have opened with this because hopefully people are still listening out there. But I'm sure they are. This has been great.
Yeah, it's been a good one.
But onto like what you said, and like that segues perfectly into this final little thing, I guess, is yeah, you're right. Like maybe people don't like meet that necessarily like criteria for like that alcoholic as described in the big book that's never going to be able to drink successfully or do anything in moderation. But it's kind of like we were talking about Thursday with Christina and Tori. I think those people, especially like those who may not fit that bill, but certainly experience problematic and chaotic substance use, should completely have the ability to get out what they can from those programs and from the 12 steps. And that's something that I'm like eternally grateful for in meeting you, is because I had that opportunity that maybe a lot of people that like have approached recovery the way that I haven't had. And like that first day that I met you, you were in TRN, the Recovery Research Network, and I was there at like my first or second appointment. And I remember you came up to me and like, how are you doing? I was like, I'm all right. Like I was still pretty much detoxing, even after 2 weeks in detox. And you said, your brain still feel a little mushy? And I was like, yeah. That's like exactly, I had no words up to that point to like put in like where I was at all. Like I was just fucking out there in the ether in my mind, and my brain was still on fire, but felt mushy. And like I knew that you knew where I was at. And, from there, like, I asked you, like, a week or so later if you would be willing to take me through the steps. And we never, like, had that, like, direct, like, sponsor-sponsee kind of relationship. Like, I always felt like kind of you were my friend from the jump. But I was never going to approach, my recovery story. It doesn't really involve abstinence, I was going to be on bupe at least for a time because like of the pain that I dealt with and just frankly the years and years of consistent pharmaceutical opiate use on top of illicit opiate use. And cannabis like worked for my pain better than anything else, like realistically, certainly better than opiates after a while. But I wanted to make changes in my life that were like significant, and I wanted to get the opportunity or do the things that I was seeing other people do, like that I saw you do, and I really looked up to you and like saw how you lived those principles and those steps, and I wanted to get that out of it too. And at no point did you put up a roadblock or a barrier or say anything like, if you really want to get something out of this, you got to do it this way or that way. And so many people don't have that opportunity, and that's like a big driving motivation for me in doing the work that I do now and the work that I've gotten to do with you for years. And I can't really say enough how grateful I am for that, because I did get to, just doing the fourth step, like, even though it took me a long time because I'm notoriously procrastination king, but like I've fucking learned a lot about myself and like how things kind of connected in me, and I'm still growing and finding things about myself that I need to work on and continue to get to work on.
If you ain't growing, you're dying.
Yeah. And had I ever had somebody, because I never went through having to find somebody that would accept me where I was at and where my recovery was at. I never had to deal with that. I never had to go through that, because that first day at TRN I was introduced to you, and you allowed me to get those opportunities to work on those things without any kind of arbitrary requirements or strings attached. And you know, I've always been really grateful for that.
I'm grateful for you, bro.
So yeah, and that's a big reason why I wanted to have you on top of, you know, many other things. I knew this would be good, and I want to do this again, like, sooner rather than later, like within the next couple weeks if we can swing it, because I think there's like an entire branch of topics that we had discussed talking about that we didn't even get to, because we got a lot to delve into.
Yeah.
So
I would stay longer too, but
we got shit to take care of, and it's Saturday, and we're gonna.
Yeah, why do I gotta work on Saturday? It's so whack.
Yeah.
I'm just doing him a favor. That's why I'm not like really rushing.
Right.
You can wait a minute.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Right on, man. Well, this was a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. We'll do it soon.
Yeah.
We'll do it soon for sure.
We can play
Yeah.
next Saturday if you guys are free.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get something on the schedule for sure.
Man, I wish we would have kept that from step one or take one though.
I know.
That was a good.
we were on a good roll there.
We were on a nice
good
roll.
roll, but
That'll
we
be all
picked
right.
up all right.
It took me a minute to get my shit together.
Yeah, we're good, dude.
Well, it's been a while since we didn't have Judy helping out. So
Yeah, right. It's so whatever.
it's a lot.
I got too much here to pay attention to. I mean, you probably noticed throughout this video, I forgot to switch a couple times,
Yeah.
or I didn't do it on time.
Nobody else is gonna know.
Yeah, I got audio. I got this thing running. I got a switch. Yeah, so and talk to you guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot to think
a lot
about.
to manage.
My brains. I'm not that smart.
yeah, this is involved.
It's a setup.
Yeah.
It's a setup for sure.
Well, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna try to do it right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. I can't wait until next time.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
appreciate you being here.
Sweet man.
This was good.
Good shit.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, let's get out of here.
Ready, break.